Get started? Okay. Good afternoon. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone who wishes to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, or LPAT. Any appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure was as follows. We'll first deal with deferral requests, and then we'll go back and go in order on the items listed in the agenda, starting on item 19 and ending going forward until the end of the 1 p.m. Hearing time agenda, and we apologize for the late start because we were late this morning. In making your submissions where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will only proceed with a presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're approaching the 5-minute mark and ask you to wrap up. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address at the outset, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. On a contested application, when we're having a presentations, the applicant or agent goes first, makes the presentation to the committee. Please note the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is both accurate and that those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, once we've heard from the applicant, individuals either in support or opposed to the application, usually people are speaking in opposition or with concerns, will be invited to speak. Again, 5-minute maximum. Committee members, again, may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebut and only those issues that are raised by the speakers, to answer the questions raised by the speakers, but not to introduce new information or new evidence. That will then mark the end of the discussion. The application is then taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff on the items before us at the 1 o'clock agenda today? None to declare? Okay, then in that case, we can deal with deferral requests at the 1 o'clock time slot. Mr. Carveline, I believe the first one is item number 2348, Exmoor Drive.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a deferral request from the applicant.
Okay, and the purpose of that referral, sir? I understand they wanted deferral, and in fact, as a result, didn't post a sign because they knew they were asking for a deferral here today.
And also planning is asking them to submit the Long Branch neighborhood guidelines.
Okay, and I see there are no one registered to speak other than the agent. So let's hear David Engelman, the agent.
Morning, Sir Chair.
Good afternoon.
Or good afternoon,
Yeah,
should I say.
that's okay.
Yeah, so what you said is correct. We are requesting deferral due to some revisions to the plans that have been made, and through consultation with planning staff, we have made revisions, and we would also like to be given an opportunity to prepare those Long Branch neighborhood character guidelines and address those guidelines with the plans.
Okay, yeah, this was for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and there were 8 variances. You're going to go back and make revisions and come back with a revised application, and there'll be
Yes,
notification. Okay.
that is correct, Sir Chair.
Okay, and it's not to a specific date. It's to the next available date once you're ready. So committee members,
Yeah.
Any questions, or someone prepared to make a motion to defer this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor. I will move for deferral to enable revisions and completion of the Long Branch neighborhood guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconded for that. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimously deferred. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you back here again. Okay, next matter is item number 2643 Langside Avenue. And there we have a neighbor, someone at 44 Deerhurst, in addition to David Engelman. Is that the same agent? Yeah, same agent as on number 23. Mr. Engelman.
Good afternoon, Sir Chair and fellow committee members again. So the reason for deferral of this application is because a variance needs to be identified on the zoning notice. There was an error identified on the zoning notice, so the zoning notice has to be revised and resubmitted to the committee.
Right, because what it actually is, the coverage is actually higher than is shown on the notice.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and we do have, let's hear,
that
we
is
do
correct.
have a letter of objection from the neighbor at 44 Deerhurst, and they are present on the line, so we just have to, I guess, go to Mr. Rodriguez and see your position on the deferral. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, speaking. It's actually Paul Rossi speaking on behalf of Patricia Rodriguez.
Okay. So
Yep.
I don't know if you've been listening. This matter is there's a request for a deferral. It's sort of an automatic because one of the variances is wrong and it's lower than it should be. So that has to be there has to be re-notification.
Yeah,
So
I
this
pointed
matter
that
is
out
gonna
on my
be
list.
Yeah, it's going to be deferred to April, to a specific date, April the 13th, correct, Mr. Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So just you'll be re-notified. You'll receive another notification, and hopefully the applicant will be making changes and completing the Long Branch guidelines, and hopefully making maybe some changes that are preferable. But you'll have a chance to weigh in when this matter is brought back on April the 13th.
Okay, are they looking at the specific concerns we brought up, or is that going to be all
I don't
rehashed
know.
again?
We could hear from the applicant on that behalf. Perhaps we can hear from him what he's going to be doing and whether he's reviewed your letter, and otherwise you'll have a chance to object again. So perhaps we'll hear from him in rebuttal, or just I'd like to get a response to that, at least on the record.
Okay.
Okay, sir. You've read the neighbor's letter from 34 Deerhurst?
So in anticipation of the deferral, I will be reviewing the letter and the concerns brought forward by the neighbor, and we will be in consultation with the neighbor through the process so that we can try and address any concerns that they may have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, committee, motion to defer to April 13th.
I'll move for deferral to April 13th to allow consultation with the neighbor and to provide proper notice.
And I think to do the Long Branch guideline. Complete that. Was that in this one, right? Oh, that was in the last one. Okay.
That was in the last one, yeah.
My mistake. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer, seconder for that motion. Thank you, Mr. Comeric. All in favor? Matter is deferred. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that was the last deferral that we're aware of.
Mr. Chair, we have item 22 as well for 42 Fairfield. The applicant, Mr. Basciano, I believe, is requesting a deferral.
Oh, right, Fairfield. Number 22, this is transportation. So let's go to item number 22. We have several speakers on that. Actually, we have the owner and we have the two members from the Long Branch registered to speak on this application. So, Mr. Carvalino, this is, first of all, is Mr. Basciano there, please?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Basciano. So, we have, if you've reviewed, I guess, the materials filed online, there's a memo from transportation dated February the 25th. I don't know if you've reviewed it.
Yep. I have reviewed it, and I'm revising the site plan to deal with transportation issues as we speak.
Right, so they're requesting that a deferral of the subject application until the applicant addresses the following to the satisfaction, and there's 6 bullet points, six points they want you to deal with. So,
Yes.
You would agree then this matter
We're asking for a
deferred?
we're asking for a deferral.
Okay.
Yeah, we want it deferred. Yes, I can deal with transportation. I'm working on the site plan right now. We're going to get a revised site
Right.
plan, and I've spoken to the committee of adjustment. We're shooting for April 29th deferral.
Okay, so you'll bring this matter will be brought back on. So let's, before we go to committee members to make that motion, we just have to get the position of the two Long Branch, perhaps just one of them, either Andy Choles or Christine Mercado.
Hi, it's Christine Mercado.
Hello, you've seen the request.
Hi.
Have you-
Yes, we've seen the request based on transportation.
Yep.
And the LBNA does support deferral.
Okay.
However, we would like to point out on the record that urban forestry also has a problem
Yep.
with where the parking is put on this property. So we would like to put it on the record that we would that this proposal as is, it actually takes out a city tree. And so urban forestry has a problem with it, and so do we. So we'd like that to be addressed as well
Sure.
before
So
it's
yeah,
brought
I
to committee.
do see that urban forestry requesting conditions 1, 2, and 5. 5 is a refusal or a denial. There are 6 letters of support, 3 letters of opposition, and there's the Long Branch character guidelines. That's all we had on this. So they're going to defer. There'll be re-notification and be brought back on. We've heard from the applicant that he's shooting for the April 29th hearing, but we'll see. Since he's already working on complying with the transportation matters, but on the record, you stated that there's also the tree issue. So thank
Correct.
you. Okay, committee members, on the issue of the motion to defer in order for the applicant to comply with the transportation conditions.
I'll move for a deferral so the applicant can process with transportation and with forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Komorek. Seconder for that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? Matter is deferred. Okay, so we can go back to item number 19 then. So we have 22 deferred, 23, and 26. Okay, so. Just bear with me, my computer just closed. Anyway, item number 19 is 176 KANE. It's an application for detached dwelling with a detached garage in the rear yard. There are 5 variances. Urban Forestry is requesting condition number 1, and there is no communication from neighbors or other city departments other than Urban Forestry. Registered to speak on this application is Bruno Lopez, the agent. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, I confirm I'm here. Bruno Lopez from MXL Engineering on behalf
Okay.
of the owner.
Okay. Sir, I don't believe we need a presentation on this application. You're aware of the urban forestry condition?
Yes, I am, and we want to comply.
Okay, so there's no other communication from city departments or from area neighbors. So let's see if committee members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to bring a motion.
I'm ready to bring a motion to approve this application, subject to urban forestry condition number 1. Find the application's minor.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick.
Yes.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? Hands went up at the exact same times. Mr. Taylor, you kept your hand up longer. Seconded. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Lopez.
you.
Thank you. Next application is item number 2028 Villa Road.
Good afternoon, Nicholas Dove for the record, authorization for the owner, 28
Okay,
Villa
can I just
Road.
do a quick introduction? This is to convert a portion of the existing dwelling into 2 secondary suites. There are 2 variances. Normally you're allowed 1 secondary suite. This would have 2. And there's a very small variance for the proposed interior floor area of the secondary suites. Urban Forestry is requesting addition number 1. There are those 2 variances. There's a previous Committee of Adjustment application in 2001. We have the Long Branch guidelines. Committee planning has a condition of approval, capping the the unit count at 3, or 3 dwelling units maximum. And we have correspondence from 24 Villa with an objection. And they point out that 28 and 26 are owned by the same party. And that's all we have. And we do have, in addition to the agent, Nicholas Dell, we have Christine Mercado on behalf of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. Good afternoon, Mr. Dell.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Through you, thank you for the introduction. Staff have accurately understood the proposal, and we are aligned in our interpretation of the official plan, as well as the broader planning instruments that play in Ontario. I think there should be more solutions to affordable housing in using the existing building stock, and it's applications like this that help provide that as a rental basis for the people of Etobicoke. This Long Branch area, I worked with Timur to clarify that we are checking all the required boxes in terms of community planning for this district. And subject to any questions you may have, I would like to, I think, let everyone speak and have their say on the use of this property, any tenancy issues thereof, and to remind this committee that we are handcuffed to what constitutes good planning and to listen to submissions that have a basis in planning. And sometimes this may become a bit of a community discussion, but I would just like to front load the community, the community and listening and the committee as well, that we're here to talk about a housing stock and a number of units that a building can and should own in a neighborhood that has compatible built form. And these homes are there today. The density we're requesting is recognizing an existing condition, and it's not going to increase in impact. And there's been a demonstration of impact. The tenancy and any issues with the landlord and tenant board thereof don't have planning merits when it comes to providing more affordable housing for people. So that's just a little intro in terms of what I think you may hear, Mr. Chair, and I know the committee is familiar with these type of arguments. Any other questions you may have, I'm here.
Okay, so you're entitled 1 secondary suite as of right. Here you're asking for 2. It doesn't
Yes.
reach the affordable housing stock, and the condition that community planning is requesting, I assume you have no difficulty with. They just want to cap it at the 3 units, which is almost a redundant thing. You couldn't do it anyway, but they just want it on record that there will be 3 units and no more. You're not going to come back for a 4th unit or a 3rd rental.
Correct. 3 units. Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we're comfortable accepting those conditions. And if this plot of land had been larger, we would be asking for more. But we're comfortable that this is a minor variance, and what we're asking for is easily capped at 3.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Dell before we move on to hear from the Long Branch Association? Okay, no. So Christine Mercado, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
Actually, it's it's just a question actually to the applicant, because we do agree with them with the idea about putting in more affordable housing in the existing envelope. So we really don't have any problem with the application as it stands, but we just do have a question in how many parking spaces are going to be available to this unit, and if any additional parking is going to be allotted.
Right. I don't see any parking variance, but we can certainly ask that question. Is that so? You want to? Is that all you have to ask, and then we'll go back?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Mercado. Mr. Dell. Hello.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you for unmuting me. I appreciate very much this community leader's question. And you're right, there is no, formally speaking, there's no request for additional parking as a result of the 3 units that are proposed. But from a practice perspective, I'd like the neighbor to have comfort that I have received instructions from my client to advise that this is an existing condition. These 3 people are living here now. And B, the landlord will never rent, and a condition of lease is not, they do not rent to people who have car in the basement unit, and which is also consistent with affordable housing. Not many people who require affordable housing necessarily require a car.
Okay. And the area is served by public transportation, I take it.
Certainly, yes. There's a great restaurant around the corner too, if you're in the neighborhood, called Woody's Burger. You've all got to go.
Okay. Okay, committee members, any follow-up questions for the applicant or the Long Branch representative, or are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm quite satisfied with this proposal, and in fact commend it from an affordable housing point of view. I also note that the property is zoned residential multiple, which permits up to 4 units on a lot. So I have no hesitation to move approval subject to urban forestry condition 1 and the planning condition that no more than 3 dwelling units are permitted.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr.
I will
Palmer.
second.
Thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Dell.
Thank you. Thank you
Mr.
very
Mercado.
much.
Okay.
Have a good-
Okay, our next application is item number 2141 Wallasey Avenue. It's the application to construct a 1-story east side addition. Urban Forestry is requesting condition number 2. Community Planning is asking as a condition of approval that they be built, constructed as illustrated on the site plan as relates to the front yard setback and the building length. And we have 43 Wallasey in opposition, and we have a letter in that regard. Registered to speak is Anthony Abate, the agent. Stephen Malvaso, the owner, is on the line, as well as the neighbor next door, Sal Puccini from 43. So welcome, Mr. Abate.
Hi, thank you for having me. How you guys doing?
We're fine.
Good. Glad. So there's 3, I'm the agent on the application. There's 3 very minor variances that we are requesting. One is the front yard setback, where we're asking for an additional about 1.45 meters to the permitted setback. We're also asking for a lot depth increase of about an additional meter, and a side yard setback of an additional 0.6 meters, 2 feet from 1.8 to 1.2. We feel that these variances are very minor in nature, and are willing to speak to the merits of the application as per any criticisms that we have of it.
Okay. So I'm just pulling up here. So we have your the owner here on the line as well, but we don't need to hear from him. And we have the letter from the neighbor. So let's hear from the neighbor, and you'll have a chance to respond. Have you read their letter? Because they said they were talking about a proposed garage being built, but it says they are only constructing a one-story east addition with no indication of a proposed garage, and they say that's misleading. And they don't believe the variances are minor. So with your permission, perhaps let's hear from the neighbor, and you'll have a chance to respond. And before we do that, do any of the members have any questions for Mr. Abate before we move on to the next speaker? Okay. Okay, Mr. Puccini.
Hi there. Thank you very much. I'm a little nervous. My name is Salvatore Piccinini. I am the neighbor and the one that is affected the most. Myself and my wife are affected the most by these.
First of all, I must apologize because on my list it says your name is Puccini, but I see it's Piccinini. So
quite all right.
Apology.
No need to apologize at all.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes to tell us what your concerns are. We do have your letter.
I do not want to read my letter again. I have stated everything that is in my letter.
Yep.
What my concerns are. I should say what our concerns are.
Mm-hmm.
We are. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. We're a little new to this.
That's okay.
And we just feel that the way these variants are designed, like an extra 2 feet closer to us, and in the front and the back, the way the garage was not listed. These are all things that will affect our property and the integrity of the neighborhood. I am not a professional at this. I'm just opposing my views. They are very nice people. We're glad to have them as neighbors. We just feel it's our right to voice our opinion in this, and we that you will, consider our request. We're also worried about privacy on the on our side, their east side, with the way they're putting in windows. We have stated that in the letter. I heard you say earlier that grade has nothing to do with committee of adjustment, but that is something that we are concerned about. And we hope that you will look at our letter and take our points very seriously. And we thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Puccini. Does anyone have any questions for the speaker before we go back to the applicant to respond to the concerns raised by the neighbor in their letter? Okay. Okay, Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Okay, so the neighbor...
I can respond, yep.
I assume you've read the neighbor's letter dated February 25th on file.
I have.
And if you have the, you've heard his concerns. He sort of new at this, and
sure, no problem. I appreciate his concerns.
He wants to raise his concerns. He has the issues of the placement of windows and things like that. So,
correct. Yeah, we want to be good neighbors as well. And I did read his letter, and I want to respond to each of his comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So that he knows that we are being sensitive to his situation, and we're always being considerate throughout the design process. So in regards to the 1.2 meter side yard, it's a very typical request for a 4-foot side yard, which allows us to place windows into that side yard. If you look at the location of our windows versus our neighbor's windows, they are not even remotely in line with them. His windows are at the front portion of his house. Our current proposed windows are more towards the rear or middle of the house, which do not impact him. So there's no visual line of sight. And those are for the 2 ground story windows, which are also being, the view is being blocked by a fence as well. There's also 2 basement windows that are being proposed, and those are low to the ground, again, being blocked by the fence. And so there's no real direct view going into the neighbor's house. He expressed concern that one of his windows was a bathroom window. Well, one of our windows is also a bathroom window. We intend to put privacy screening on that window as well, which is also very typical of bathroom windows on a side yard. The rear yard, we are asking for about 10 feet. our neighbor has recently done a very large extension to the rear port, an enclosed rear portion of his house, which extends about 10 feet beyond ours. So
Is that the neighbor at
not
43 or the other side?
43.
43, okay. The one who's,
And so while I'm not here to argue the merits of his construction, which has all been approved, I just want to say that ours is less impactful in terms of its size and scale. And in terms of the height, our proposed roof lines are lower than the current existing roof lines that exist with the carport that exists there and the roof above the carport. So what we're doing is less in height and less impactful than the massings that even our neighbor has proposed on his yard. And again, we feel that our requests are very minor in nature.
okay. The other thing he mentioned something about the figures there's something going on about the proposed garage not indicate on the public notice. Now, the public notice is put together by city staff, so I don't know if there's anything untoward, but there is a proposed garage going in as well, correct?
Yes, it is. I guess I characterized it as an addition because it incorporated both a master bedroom and a garage.
Right.
The neighbor is correct in that it wasn't specified that it was a garage, but the drawings detail it with notations and a lot of notations that show that it is a garage in fact.
Okay, and just for staff, Mr. Carvalino, I assume this is properly, notice is proper, the notice is put together by staff, and this is how they identified there's nothing untoward going on here?
No, Mr. Chair, the notice is correct. The addition of the garage and GFA behind the garage it's an addition. It's all one big addition.
Okay. Thank you, and unless you'd like to add anything else, let's see if committee members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to bring a motion.
One thing that I did not mention was the front yard setback, which was also a concern.
Yeah.
So we're asking to encroach about 1.45 meters than we're currently allowed. And in relation to what 43 has done with their porch extension, we are in line, pretty much almost bang on with their porch extension. So we're not impacting his property in the same, in the way that it's being described. We're staying really true and in line with the two neighboring properties and are not asking for a major deviation from what otherwise would have been approved.
Okay, and to keep you honest on that, as I stated at the outset, community planning has asked for a condition that it be constructed as illustrated in the site plan relating to the front yard setback and the building length. And you're okay?
Yes, we have no issue with adhering to our proposal.
For sure. Okay. Committee members, any questions for the agent or for the neighbor? Or is someone ready to bring a motion?
I think I'm good with the proposal. I believe it's minor. I believe it meets the 4 tests. I would like to therefore propose approval subject to the planning condition tying it to the site plans of November the 5th.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komarek. Any seconder for that motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion, but my notes here say that Urban Forestry requested condition number 2.
Yeah, I said that. At
the Are you okay, Mr. Komarek, to add that?
Absolutely, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that,
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor. A friendly amendment, and all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bade. Okay. Okay, so the next 2 applications have been deferred, 22 and 23. So we move on to item number 24, 20 Lou Pomanti Street. We have 1 registered speaker, the agent, Michael Swan. And it's just...
Sorry, Mr. Chair, we did have Michael Swan on the line. I'm not seeing him anymore. I think he must have dropped off. So maybe if we can go to the next one and
Okay.
I'll try and get a hold of
Okay,
him.
so we'll hold that one for now. And we'll go to item number 25, 1 Victoria Boulevard. This is an application for a second-story addition, very simple, urban forestry condition number 1, I believe, or that might. And we have nothing whatsoever else. Let me just check if we have urban forestry. We do have one, okay. Other than that, we don't have anything on file from city departments or neighbors. This is to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and garage. And there's only one variance, being the location from the side lot line. And registered to speak on this is Raman Sandhu. Raman? Is Raman Sandhu there?
Hi, so I'm Raman's colleague, Savan.
Yes? Are you Raman Sandhu?
So I am Raman's colleague.
Oh, okay. What's your name, please?
My name is Savan.
Okay, because we have to have your name if you're speaking your name for this, for the record.
Mm-hmm.
You want to spell your name? Are you the agent on this or the owner?
We are the agent. We are the company. So my name is Savan, Sawan.
Okay. That's the last name?
Last name is Willasra. Willasra.
Okay, thank you very much. So, are you aware there's a urban forestry condition, and otherwise we don't have anything here? There's only one variance. So I don't need a presentation. We'll just see if committee members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to make a motion on this application. Committee members, any questions for the applicant? Okay, is someone then ready to make a motion? We have urban forestry condition number 1.
I'm prepared to make a motion to accept this application subject to urban forestry condition number 1. When its minor nature meets the 4 test.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. Seconder for Ms. Ruddick's motion. Mr. Taylor, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you very much. You have your approval.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, item number 26. Has that one been deferred? Yes, okay. So item number 27, 52 Cardigan Road. This is an application for a detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 10 variances. Now there's only 9. I believe 1 has been dropped. We have a revised notice highlighting the change. We have planning looking for a condition of approval that it be constructed as illustrated on the architectural plans regarding building length and depth. And that's all we have on this application. The speaker on this application is Marin Zabzuni. Mr. Zabzuni, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway. We have worked with planning on this application to remove the rear yard variance and reduce coverage, lot coverage. The owner has also talked to neighbors and have obtained 7 letters of support. They've been living in the neighborhood for a while, and we're essentially proposing a 2-story new dwelling. There's a lot of development in the area, and we feel that this one is appropriate for the neighborhood and the homeowners. Let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, and you're okay with the community planning condition proposed on this application?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have up showing the revision up on the screen, showing the variance you changed and the one you eliminated. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Zabzuni or someone ready for a motion?
Just, Mr. Chair, if I may, one question. The planning department has asked that the development be constructed as illustrated on the architectural plan submitted February 19th, 2021. Does are the revisions that you're requesting approval for today incorporated in and reflected in those February 19th plans?
They are reflected in the revised drawings that were submitted along with this waiver. However, I would like to request that if it's tied substantially to the drawings, because sometimes, you know, material changes, small window changes,
Yeah,
you
Mr.
never know.
Zabzuni.
So,
Yeah, Mr. Zabzuni, if I can
yeah.
just interject. I get the thing what Mr. Taylor was asking, is February 19th the right date, the plan, in other words, are those plans, and I see the Secretary Treasurer nodding yes, perhaps he can verify, whether those changes you made are reflected on this set of plans and someone didn't just miss the date. With respect to the issue constructed as illustrated, as opposed to substantially, that wording has recently changed, and I think it's a change for the better. It doesn't tie you to be exactly everything on the architectural plans, but with respect to with respect to building length and depth, it is exact. So I think this is a better way, because it's, what is substantial? You can't be off by a decimal point or anyway. With respect to
Right.
length and depth, it's got to be exact. So the previous wording, which sort of
That's fine.
implied that everything on those plans, it has to be substantial, and then someone would have to determine what's substantial and what's not substantial. But remember, this is only for the length and the depth. It has to be exact, but otherwise the architectural plans could change as long as it doesn't change for the length and the depth.
Yeah, that's fine for length and depth, no problem.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, just to answer Mr. Taylor's question, staff has brought up the revised plans on file, and as you can see, they are the February 19th, 2021 plans that were received as revised.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so having said that, is someone ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I find the requested variances address the four tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to the condition of the Planning Department.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconded for that motion, Mr. Palmer, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on. Item number 28 is 234 ALDERBRAE Avenue. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have urban forestry requesting condition 2 or refusal. This is for a detached dwelling with an attached garage with 9 variances. Transportation has no objection, and as I mentioned this morning, this is another application, an even more glaring one, where community planning is recommending refusal of 1 variance out of the 9 or 10, but without it, as that's the major variance number 2, the GFA, from 0.4 to 0.66. They're suggesting only that 1 variance be eliminated and everything else be approved, which to me is nonsensical. So that's just my point for the record. So that's the only variance we have, the only staff condition. We have no input from other area residents or from other city departments other than transportation and urban forestry. Transportation is okay. Urban forestry is looking for condition 2 or condition 5, which is a refusal. And the agent on this application is Derek Koziaradsky. I hope I got
That's
that
correct.
right. Okay.
Yes, you did.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. I understand there's a few variances on here. We're dealing with a smaller lot. The family has been there for quite some time. I'd like to remain in the area. It's a family of 5. They have 3 kids. They like to see a house that the kids could grow into and be there for a while. I have spoken to the city about the GFA, and basically for us to meet you said number 2. So that was the parking width. Is that correct?
No, it's the gross floor area.
Okay,
In
so
other words,
I'm looking at
my
the right
question
one.
to you, if you do at
It is number
0.4
1.
At 0.4, which is sometimes
Yes.
you see them say, okay, we'll give you 0.60 instead of 0.66. But in this case, and sometimes it happens when the applicant says, I'm not making any changes, they just say refuse it. But if they refuse variance 2, you might as well, in my mind, refuse the entire thing, because could you build any
It's variance 1.
variance 2?
It's
The gross floor area, isn't that the one that they're? I hope it's the right one.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's because the zoning numbering is different than on the city.
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
I
we're
see that
talking
too.
about
Okay.
is the floor space index. At 0.4, could you build
Got it
anything?
here.
Could you build anything at 0.4?
No, and I went to them and I've kind of exchanged a quick email with them, and for us to bring it right back to where what they want is even at 0.6, I have to reduce about 300 square feet,
We're
which is
not at
eliminating a
0.6,
room in
we're
the
at
house.
0.4. It's on, you probably
No,
have doors
0.4, you
there
can't
already.
build anything.
Yeah, so
No,
to
yeah,
me,
0.4 is the existing small bungalow.
yeah, to me, if they want they want to refuse that a variance, they might as well refuse the whole thing. Because as Mr. Palmer stated in another application, we'd be giving you 7 variances completely out of context. As of right, you'd come back to committee and say, well, that's my side yard and that's my, so please explain why we should approve this application and why particularly your FSI of 0.66 is reasonable.
So again, saying we're dealing with an existing lot that has a small bungalow on it. I believe the frontage is about 13 meters. So now we're trying to build a house that is suitable for 5 family members, 3 kids, 2 adults, with adequate space for family to grow into. Given the size of the lot, unfortunately, to accommodate 3 bedrooms, proper living area, we do surpass the allowed 0.4 that is allowed by zoning. And having said that, we do unfortunately exceed the allowable building length. There is a setback issue on one side that we're kind of jogging out the side of the building, outside the house for 5 meters just to accommodate the bit of the laundry room,
Okay,
but the rest
so
of the
can I just
house.
interrupt there? So you're
Yes.
telling me that the side yard setback, again, is not for the entire length of the property,
No,
it's just a
no,
jut out, right?
just jut out just on one side, correct?
So again, if this was to be approved, on paper anyway, you would get that side lot line for the entire thing in variance number 4. So again, another example why you can't let variances, if the main variance is being refused, as staff suggests, and you're at 0.4, then you might as well refuse the entire application. So sorry, please continue. So you're
No
saying
problem.
your side yard is only for the jut out for the laundry room as shown on the plan?
Correct.
Okay.
The rest of the setback meets the 1.2 meter, and where it does jog out, we're only the setback there is 0.91, so we're not that far. The family would like to remain in the area. They've been there for a very long time and grown, a lot of relationships, and so unfortunately, this is the property that they have, and for us to make this house work, we're dealt with a few challenges.
Yeah, okay. Is your lot smaller than the other lots on the street, or they're all around the same size?
They're about the same size. The neighboring houses are still fairly tiny bungalows. There is a house a few properties over that is basically a monstrosity. They built a giant house, and I'm sure they got approval somehow. I haven't spoken to them, but it's the area is still it's a developing area, and there's new builds happening, but for the most part, it's still the original homes.
Yeah, so that other house, do you know what their GFA is? What they obtained to build the house?
I'm not 100% positive, sir.
Okay. I guess we'd have to have the address in order to check that, but you're saying there is precedence for a larger gross floor area?
Correct.
Okay, so would your house be smaller than this proposed other house?
Yes, it would.
So you'd suspect that they're over 0.66 times the area lot if the lot is the same size?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for the agent in this application?
Yeah, Neil Palmer. So Urban Forestry had said in their March 9th comments to deny variance 2 having to do with the driveway width, and I think they meant variance 9, but it looks like your site plan can only accommodate removal of the tree. So you're okay with conditional of approval subject to a private tree permit if we do give approval?
Yes.
Okay, and to staff, on variance number 2, there's reference to 2 different bylaws and 2 different section numbers in those bylaws. But the staff recommendation only refers to one of those bylaws. So does that mean the staff are okay with us approving the variance to the other bylaw? I need some direction there. It's a little confusing.
I think staff just missed it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Palmer, I don't know exactly why staff only noted one bylaw when the variance states two, the old 1979 bylaw and 569-13. Sorry, I can't provide any clarification.
Yeah, is it the same performance standard under those both bylaws, more or less? Or I think the planner probably just missed it in addition to coming to a nonsensical decision on the variance application, but that's just my opinion. But that's a very good catch, that in section 2, there are two different bylaws. And again, I believe it's the same performance standard because it goes on to say the maximum permitted, I assume that 0.4 is under both bylaws, or they would have worded it that under one bylaw it's 0.4 and the other one it's 0.6. So the planner probably just missed it. That would be my guess. Good catch, Mr. Palmer. Any other questions or someone for a motion?
Just an observation on the urban forestry situation. Mr. Palmer was quite correct in the condition requested by urban forestry on March 2nd, I guess it was. Yeah. However, on March 9th, their memo refers to requesting condition number 1 for a city-owned tree, whereas a week earlier they referred to condition 2, a private tree. So I'm just not sure what urban forestry wants or expects us to do about this. If we accept their evidence literally, I would suggest that we would, and we were to approve this application, I would suggest that we impose their condition number 1. And if that's not what they meant, that'll be their issue to resolve. And please tell me if I've not read things properly.
May I
Mr.
say
Chair?
something?
Just looking at a Google Street View, there appears to be a tree, a large city tree on the front lawn.
And through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of the memo from March 9th refers to the street tree, and that's condition number 1. And that picture of the tree that you saw, Mr. Is the same street tree that's the picture on the attached memo right in front of the bungalow.
Mm-hmm.
So we can disregard their March 2nd request for condition 2?
I would say
privately owned tree?
If you're asking my recommendation, I would suggest putting both because they're two separate memos. So condition 1 and 2.
Condition 1 is the big tree we're looking at.
Yep. In order to protect that tree, right? Unit 1 is to protect, put up hoarding and all that nice stuff.
Yes, condition 1 refers to the March 9th memo with the street tree
Yep.
picture as page 2.
Yep.
And condition 2, the private tree bylaw, is from the standard omnibus memo from forestry.
So you're saying they both apply?
There may be a tree in the backyard.
Okay. Okay. So was someone about to make a motion? Are we middle of motion, or was just issues of trying to figure out what the tree?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I'll move approval. I feel the variances are in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act. Enough said about the Community Planning Department recommendation on this. I agree with you, Mr. Chair, wholeheartedly that it's very confusing. In fact, when you look at the requested variances, they're okay with the lot coverage, but they're not okay with the FSI. So basically they're saying they're okay with a big bungalow, but not a two-story house, and two-story houses are permitted in this zone. So anyway, as you stated well, I'll just say I agree with you. So
Thank you.
my motion is to approve subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Kamarick, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Kozierski.
Thank you. Enjoy your afternoon.
Do we have number 24 back? Okay.
Hello? Yes? Hello? Hello?
Hold on, let me just check.
Hello?
Hi.
Item number 24 is 20 Lou Pomanti Street.
Yes?
Hold on a second. Here we go. This is an application to construct a second floor rear deck.
Yes?
And we have, it's a semi. We have 3 variances. We have an presentation by the applicant. We have planning looking to reduce the deck size to 17.66, whereas 10 meters is permitted. Sorry, 3.8 permitted. Let me just. So we have a covering letter from the applicant. We have a planning memo that to reduce the rear deck to 10 meters, whereas what was proposed was 17.66, and what's permitted is 3.8. So 3.8 or slightly under the 4 meters we normally see is permitted. They came in at 17.66, and planning is saying reduce it to 10. $40 letters of support.
Hello?
How many letters? Okay. Okay. Okay, and we have, I believe, 3 variances, and we have a neighbor present. No, we don't have. This is just Michael Swan. We only have the
Speaking.
agent. Is Michael Swan there?
Yes?
Welcome.
Yes?
Welcome.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. When you first presented my number, you passed right over it, and I was yelling, well, stop.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, we couldn't hear you, so we stood it down till we heard a few more applications. So
Okay,
we
thank
have
you.
your covering letter, and
Yes.
have you seen the planning recommendation? Or is that something I have to see that you agreed to, or they're just recommending?
Neither. Well, sorry, I have seen it. I've talked to my clients about it. There's also a letter on file from the local counselor, as well as 40 letters of support. The area counselor, Councillor Perusa, is willing to support it if the deck is reduced in size slightly, and the clients have agreed to that. And they
Sir, I'm asking staff. Sir, we don't have any copy of any letter from the counselor. We have for the overwhelming amount of letters of support, I'm advised. Hold on.
I can forward it to you because I received
So
a copy.
while we're looking for that, can you please go on? You said, what kind of a reduction are we talking about? Okay, let's.
Yes, the counselor's office agreed to supporting a deck having an area of 14.85 square meters, which translates into an area, a length of 5.2 and a depth of 2.83.
Okay, and they're saying that that's consistent with an approval granted at 26 Lou POMANTI Street on October 30, 2014. So they got a larger balcony. So instead of the 10 meters that community planning was recommending be approved, you're saying that based on this letter from the councillor and based on another approval, 14.2 is what you're prepared to do and what the councillor is prepared to support.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so let's see if committee members have any questions for you. And apologize, we couldn't hear you, so we thought you weren't on the line, so we just did a few extra applications, figured we'll come back to you.
Oh, that's quite all right. My video is gone. I'm on my phone, just hooked up to the computer.
Okay, anyway, at least we have you now. So committee members, any questions? Community planning wanted to reduce the size of this second floor deck to 10 meters from 17.66. The councillor appears to have been involved, and based on a similar approval in 2014, he's prepared to recommend 14.2. And I believe this gentleman gave us the exact dimensions of, which are probably relevant, how far it's going to stick out and how far the width by depth. So perhaps could you repeat those numbers?
Yes, the area that was suggested reduction would be 14.85 square meters with a length against the wall of 5.25 meters and a depth or the projection from the wall of 2.83 meters.
Okay, how come when I saw it up on the screen, I thought I saw 14.2, not 14.85? Not to split hairs or anything.
I don't know.
Councillor's letter again? Oh, sorry. The other neighbor had 14.2, so he's giving you 14.85. Okay, that's where I saw that. Okay, committee members, any questions for?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just to confirm, are variances 2 and 3 being reduced as well because of these new dimensions that the proponent has indicated?
Variance 2 or 3.
The depth from the wall is being reduced, and the area is being reduced. The side yard setback cannot be reduced, actually, because there's an existing sliding door that's been there ever since the house was built. And to comply with that setback, which is to the party wall.
Okay, so variance 1, variance 1 changes to from 17.66 to 14.85, right? That's what the council suggested. Variance number 2, we have to deal with the numbers because the zoning notice numbers are sometimes different than the public notice numbers. So variance 2, dealing with the maximum projection of a second floor platform, is 1.6 into the rear yard setback. Yours was at 3.2. Is that changing?
Yes, that is changing to 2.83.
So 2.83 is a change from 3.2. Very good. And how about variance number 3? You're saying that doesn't change?
No, that does not change.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for pointing that out because they are relevant. So otherwise, so those are the changes. Committee members, any questions for the agent, or is someone ready to make a motion based on those revisions to variances 1 and 2? And there's no urban forestry.
I can add to that there are no trees in anyone's backyard.
Yeah. Okay.
Chair, I'm prepared to move a motion for approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act.
So that's based on.
And for the reduction, so the area is reduced to 14.85, and the rear yard projection is from 1.6 to 2.83 rather than the 3.2 that was requested, and the third variance as requested.
Mr. Palmer. Thank you. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Taylor, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're back to item number 29. 50 Edgecroft Road. It's an application for a detached dwelling with an attached garage with 7 variants. We have revised plans, and planning is looking for condition in event of an approval that it be built, constructed as illustrated on the site plan as it relates to proposed building length, which includes the rear deck. And Urban Forestry is requesting condition number 5, which is a denial. Or condition 1. Okay, and the agent, we only have one speaker, the agent Marin Zabzuni. Welcome back, Mr. Zabzuni.
Hello, Mr. Chair and committee members. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Marin Zabzuni again, for the record, at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, very straightforward application. As I just mentioned, you're okay with the planning suggestion?
Yes.
And I guess we do have revised plans and revised notice. We have a revision sheet. Perhaps we can put that up on the board. So you basically reduce the coverage from 43.63 to 39.64. And eliminated variance number 5 being the setback from the rear lot line. It's not up, but that's what it is.
Yes, we
Okay,
yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or let's see if committee members have any questions for you?
Am I the only one that doesn't have the revised notice? I don't see anything to show me the revisions.
Hold on a second.
I have a set of revised plans, but I don't have any numbers that go with it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is no revised.
Oh, did I? Okay, I just pulled out. Somehow it went to item number 27. My mistake. My bookmark jumped around. But we do have revised.
Okay, no problem. So we're considering the variances as requested in the notice.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And then we have the planning condition.
Well, I'm prepared to move approval. I find the variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests, and my approval recommendation would be subject to urban forestry condition 1 and the condition of the community planning department.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. And the seconder for that motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, before we move on to item 30, I just want to, if it's okay, just let the 3 o'clock session people know that we're still in the 1 o'clock session.
Yep.
We will be sound checking you once we're done with this session. And yep, that's it.
Okay, so the next application is probably our, at least for them, based on number of speakers proposed. And this is an application for 60 Birmingham Street. It's the former Campbell Soup Factory buildings. And it's an application to construct 3 new warehouse buildings. And there are 3 variances, all related to parking only, a number and configuration of parking. Nothing else. That's all we're dealing with here today. We have revised plans and zoning notice. We have a landscape plan. Transportation has no objection, which is quite relevant, since these are all transportation-related variances. Heritage Preservation Services has given us a staff report that looks to be for information. And we have registered to speak on this application. And when we're all here in person in the good old days, and hopefully in the future, the parties meet outside to try to narrow issues or understand things. And even the group in opposition usually meet outside separately and decide if they're going to have a certain spokesperson. We don't have to hear from 15 different people saying the same thing. So we don't have the facility of having that those outside the room meetings to see who's going to speak. So I would just ask that as we go through this, You know, we don't have a full day to do these hearings. We have 44 applications in a day. So we don't necessarily have to hear from everyone, perhaps, especially these are all sort of transportation. We're not talking about the built form or the actual construction. So a few of the people who are registered to speak apparently have dropped off, but we still have a lot of speakers. So I would just ask, as you're listening to the other speakers, that you try not to, we used to have part of our opening remarks, saying do not repeating the same concerns over and over by by subsequent speakers or different speakers does not advance your cause. That used to be part of our opening remarks, and I would just reiterate that if you're listening and you hear some neighbor say exactly what you're going to say, you can say, I agree with that neighbor. You don't have to go on for 5 minutes and let us know exactly the same thing. So the first speaker is obviously usually the agent. In this case, it's Ryan Guder from Weston Consulting. And basically, we have okay, that's basically what we have on that. So we'll go through, staff is helping us line up all the speakers, so if you can just listen and hear what's going on. So I see we have the Ryan Guder from Weston Consulting. I see he also has a traffic engineer available for questioning, and then we have a bunch of neighbors. So is Ryan Guder? I don't know if
I'm here, sir.
Okay.
Um,
So I introduced the application. I hope it did it some justice. We'd like to get some background, and you have like 5 minutes to give us a presentation. And again,
Understood. Thank you.
That we're only dealing with transportation-related variances here, right? So the comments should be related on transportation-type concerns, and not concerns that go beyond that. When we hear from the neighbors, but your presentation again should be based on these particular variances and why they should be supported. And I noted that transportation has no issue with this from a transportation point of view.
Yes, sir.
So I'll start my timer. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and those that will be speaking. Again, Ryan Guder here on behalf of the owners of this property. Tom Woodhall from BA Group is also registered to speak to the extent that he's able. The presentation in front of you, I'd like to just, with the assistance of committee staff, turn to the second slide, and I'll just provide a bit of context. We have undertaken the proper channels of submission of a site plan application, and the lands in question everyone knows quite well. There's 3 municipal road frontages. If we go to the next slide, we have submitted a site plan application, and you're quite right, there are 3 variances being sought. The variances by characterization are not about the number of parking spaces in terms of the overall supply. It's also not about any other performance standards. It's strictly about the location of the parking relative to the building face that relates to a public street. The zoning bylaw permit front yard parking and side yard parking, but only in a certain specified quantity. The application has been subject to a site plan process. If we go to the next slide with your support, the lands are within an employment area. Next slide. The uses are proposed to all comply. We're not seeking any other relief, save and except the location of the parking spaces. We're in an employment zone. If we go to the next slide, the site plan is configured with 3 buildings and ultimately an important heritage preservation strategy for the existing building, which the heritage comments reflect. And if we move to the next slide, I want to illustrate graphically what is being envisioned. The proposed parking supply overall, we are in excess of the city's bylaw requirements, and that's in part because we're anticipating office space and warehousing, and the specific tenancies have not been specified, but we're providing slightly above the requirement for parking supply. Again, no variances being sought. I wanted to make sure that was clear. And as was pointed out, we have site plan submission in, we have comments received, transportation staff are satisfied with the findings of the transportation study that was submitted, as well as the nature of the traffic flow patterning and assessment, which addresses a number of the comments by my understanding of letters received. If you go to the next slide, just want to illustrate now the condition. At present, there is front yard parking along the Birmingham frontage. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the proposed condition, which is in fact a reduction of the number of parking spaces that presently exist. There's 73 spaces that presently exist, and we're seeking 47. It's actually an increase in the landscape treatments there, and the same access point is being utilized for that employee visitor parking area. If we go to the next slide, and that again is the basis of the first variance related to that building. This slide shows the Birmingham frontage as to the additional greenery that's envisioned. We're removing hardscape in favor of softscape and landscape treatments, and in fact separating the existing street line by additional landscape buffering. And albeit their existing parking is in a non-complying state to the zoning bylaw, we do need a variance to secure the proposed, which is the first variance. If we go to the next slide, I'd like to describe the Dwight Avenue frontage. This is existing imagery of the present condition today. And if you move to the next slide, quite quickly, I want to show the expression of what's envisioned here. The proposed buildings are set back much further from the street line, and we are seeking variances for buildings 2 and 3 and a portion of building 1 in the order of magnitude of the sought variances, which seek to provide a combination of streetscaping, additional landscaping. We're providing several hundred new trees that presently don't exist, separating the buildings further. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see an expression of, once again, from a sort of bird's eye view of the additional greenery. And although we're providing front yard parking in the numbers sought after, we've carefully designed this through the work of discussions with city staff to recognize as much as possible the traffic patterning envisioned. There's no loading components with these parking areas. They're strictly vehicle parking spaces. If we move to the next slide very quickly, you'll see that the condition as it exists today on the top versus what's proposed below, which is essentially, again, a significant amount of additional greenery. We're adding a sidewalk connection through this development, again, and the basis of the variances being sought is the location of the visitor parking and employee parking areas. And I should note that there are additional visitor and employee parking areas internal to the site, but we've been very clear to differentiate the loading and functional elements of the buildings from those visitor parking spaces, and that's the basis of these variances being sought. If we go to the next slide, and I'm wrapping up, sir, I know I'm tight on time. I wanted to just provide my opinion that it is my view as a professional land use planner that the application before you does meet the 4 tests under section 45, that the overall objectives being sought by the official plan policies is to provide a beautified public realm, streetscape, and I believe that is achieved through this application, and the intent of the zoning bylaw is also being maintained. City staff have also signed off on the findings of the transportation study that accompanied the site plan. And so much of the comments from the public that I've had the benefit of seeing relate to transportation flow, transportation patterning, impacts to local streets as it relates to traffic safety. And those matters have been addressed through the traffic study work and have been reviewed and accepted by city staff. So we would ask for the committee's consideration of approval of the application. And I'm here today as well with an owner representative from Quadrille, as well as Mr. Tom Woodall from BA Group to answer any questions. My hope is to attempt to clear up any perhaps misconceptions from the community that may exist and provide additional insight to members that have concerns, and in a hope to address their concerns to the best of my ability. So thank you for the opportunity to address you, Mr. Chair and members.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for that presentation. Walking us through it, certainly it looks like a improvement over the existing situation with those 3 buildings, but what's before us is the these traffic-related issues, which were, you know, as you pointed out at the end, traffic planning deals with that. We're sort of incidentally involved as they relate to variances, but we sort of take our guidance from that. So does anyone have any questions for the agent before we move on to the neighbors and hear the deputations from the public on this? And obviously he'll have a chance, Mr. Guder will have a chance to respond as well. Okay, so it looks like, I don't know if there's any order here, but as I cautioned at the information, we have over 10 speakers here registered, and I don't think we need to have 5 minutes from each. So let's see how it goes. The first speaker listed is Steve Babiak at 101 Murray Street.
Yes, I'm here.
For each of these speakers, if we could perhaps sort of start off by indicating where they reside in relation to this property and what the concerns are to these three variances.
I live at 101 Murray Street, which is a kitty corner to 60 Birmingham.
Okay.
And I don't have any real concerns with the number of cars that will be parked on this property. What my concern is the roadways and the infrastructure of these roadways that will be able to accommodate all these extra cars. Now, I'd like to know if there will be any street parking, which exists right now at 60 Birmingham. And if there is going to be street parking, why? That is my main concern. And speeding and all those other things are really what this community is afraid of, with the amount of cars and trucks that will be surrounding 60 Birmingham, with a school and a lot of residences here that our neighborhood is adjoining to the 60 Birmingham. And that's as much as I want to say.
Okay, so I guess obviously 60 Birb was always an industrial site, so that's not changing.
Always.
I don't know if it's, you know, it's not like they're taking a couple of, you know, streets of houses and knocking them all down and putting in an industrial building. It's, you know, it's adjacent to this residential, but it is what it is. But I assume Mr. Guder is listening, and he'll be able to answer in his rebuttal your question about street parking. In his rebuttal.
Yes, street parking and roadway safety.
Yeah. And roadway safety and in place. See, that's something that's dealt with typically by transportation, not by committee of adjustment. It comes to us informationally because of the variances related. But, you know, I assume that they're in site plan, and there'll be discussion as to how to best manage the flow of traffic and trucks and ingress and egress. So we're not the final word on this. So thank you for your concern and that question, and we'll hopefully hear the answers from the agent in his rebuttal. So any questions for Mr. Babiak at 101 Murray before we move on? Okay. Next speaker is Nicholas Loader at 159 Hillside Avenue.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great, thanks. Thanks for that presentation, Ryan. And my concerns are kind of an extension of what Steve has just mentioned. So I guess I'll start where he did on the infrastructure side. And I would note that on Birmingham and Dwight and New Toronto Street, existing infrastructure is in terrible disrepair. And my concern with the parking space variance is that obviously more parking spaces are being added to facilitate more vehicles being added to the area. So I'd like to know what the municipality has planned in terms of maintaining and improving the infrastructure around the area. Second, as far as the additional parking spaces, again, leading to additional vehicles in the area, there's a safety concern there. So I run with my dog up and down Dwight Street and the surrounding areas. I live at 159 Hillside, which is about a 3-minute walk from the building site. I'm concerned about the volume of vehicles. There's a lot of kids in the area, and obviously more parking spaces would facilitate a much greater number of vehicles being in the area. As the city will know, very recently, a cyclist was killed at Royal York and Judson by a vehicle that was owned by the by an industrial company in the area there. So I'd like to know what the city is planning on doing on ensuring safety of the local residents, and also what Quadrille is planning to that regard. Finally, air pollution, noise pollution, additional or substantial additional vehicles in the area are going to increase the negative effects of both of those. So as Steve mentioned, this is, everything to the east of the lands is a residential area where air pollution and noise pollution are serious concerns. And then finally, I have concerns, as you mentioned, I guess, Mr. Chairman, that they wouldn't necessarily be addressed by this committee as to how traffic flow will move, and would specifically suggest signage and rules that would allow vehicles to only leave that facility going westward, where it is not a residential area on that side, at least to the north. But finally, I'm just concerned that the number of parking spots we're looking at here is much greater than what was at the Campbell's facility rather, and will be used in a much higher volume, because as we know, this is going to be vehicles coming in and out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I understand. So definitely a lot of concerns with this project broadly, but also many concerns with the number of parking spots that is being proposed, and the obvious impact it will have on the number of vehicles that it will introduce into the area.
Okay.
That's all for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Schlatter, anyone have any questions for Mr. Schlatter before we move on to the next speaker? Okay, in that case, Don Letty of 102 Elma Street.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name's Don Letty. I live at 102 Elma Street, which is in the kind of the northeast corner of Dwight, just south of New Toronto. My backyard, if I look out my back window, I see the set of lights right at New Toronto and Dwight. Does that make sense to where I am?
Yep, we have a location map.
Yep.
So what are your concerns about this?
So I've got a few concerns here, and I appreciate the comments from the Mr. Babiak and Mr. Schlatter. They've both commented on issues as it relates to parking on street, which is something that I echo, and would add that I agree that there should be more parking on the site, so that there is a limitation on the number of cars that are going to park on Elma, Hillside, Murray, and so on and so forth, because there's limited on-street parking, and there's a lot of residents that don't actually have parking spots. So I agree there should be more parking. However, what I wonder is, would the builder look at limiting they want to open up a driveway on Dwight Avenue, which doesn't currently exist, which I feel is going to create a lot more traffic. Of course, as Mr. Schlatter said, it's a 24/7 operation, whether that's vehicles or whether that's cars or trucks, I'm not sure.
Before us, the openings? Yeah, where
Pardon
they
me?
have the openings and egress, that's not really before us here, I guess.
Okay, well, it kind of is.
I see they are putting in more, you're saying good that they're having, so they are adding more parking. There's a maximum number of parking spaces, so they're actually, where they have 24, they're going to have 82. So in one respect, you're happy that they're going to have more parking, because you don't want, personally, what the neighbors don't want is to have the spillover cars taking up spots on the residential streets.
Yeah, so this is my point. So thank you for reiterating. At the same point, your comment about where the entrances and exits are does impact the parking.
Yeah, I know.
Because it has, okay, you got to let me finish my point here, sir. With the entrance and exit off of Dwight, it's going to increase more and more traffic on Dwight. So I'm wondering if they might consider putting that as a one-way entrance or one-way exit, so it limits the amount of traffic on Dwight. That's the point. The other issue with, as it relates to parking, is with the increase in parking that I have a slight concern with. And I read through the light mitigation plan. I don't know if the increase in parking has anything to, if the light mitigation plan has addressed the additional parking. So I'd like to hear from that, as well as I have a personal concern with the location in the documents that says the snowplow drop-off area is going to be the northeast corner of Dwight and and New Toronto, which is obviously where my backyard is. And snow doesn't get plowed mid-afternoon. It gets plowed at 4 in the morning, where my bedroom window is right there. So I'd like I'd like that addressed as well.
Thank you. Sir, I
you
wasn't
for your
trying to
time.
be dismissive of you in terms of the entrance of the, where the entrances and exits are and the curb cuts and things of that nature. Well, I was just saying that's normally not before the committee. There's a process called they're in for site plan, and those concerns, where they pile snow, where the entrances and exits are not things that this committee deals with. It's dealt with, it's through site plan and with the transportation department. And whether it's, I know someone else or you said, whether it should be, you can only exit going right and not left, obviously. Those are all very valid concerns. I'm not dismissing your concerns. I'm just saying they're not concerns that we deal with here at Committee of Adjustment in approving these 3 variances before us. Those are very important concerns that are dealt with through site plan and through consultation with transportation. So
Appreciated it. And at the same point, there's no other public forum for this other than the one that we had in September. So, and one affects the other. So it's the ripple. Yeah. So although you say no, it doesn't impact, it does.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. So the next speaker registered is Stephen and Vladimira Anderson of 86 Albany Street. And again, we don't have to necessarily have presentations from all neighbors registered, so you're certainly welcome to do so. So is Stephen or Vladimira speaking?
They were on the line, but they're no longer, or yeah, they don't seem to be on anymore. Maybe we go to the next one.
Okay, next speaker, Susanna Lichner, 33 Struthers Street.
Hi, thank you for the possibility to talk to the committee. First, I would like to say that I live in 33 Struthers Street. It's about 1 minute walking distance from the proposed development site. Yep. And I just want to put this construction into a context. So as you know, we had here in our neighborhood a soup factory, which was in a medium scale soup factory. So I just want to state clearly that a medium size soup factory is going to be swapped to a large scale distribution center, which will be used as a last mile distribution center and will have 86 loading bays for heavy load trucks that is going to operate 24/7. So I think in the light of what we are coming from, like I know that there is an industrial area beside us, but an industrial area that is going to replace it has to be something that's acceptable and works with the committee. Now, Quadrille and our councillors did not work together with the committee to come up with a solution that is acceptable for all of us. And that's how it happened that the neighborhood developed a petition, which was signed by more than 630 people within 2 weeks. So I just want to state up front that the neighborhood is really not happy with this solution, and the information session that Quadrille proposed and what they had in September was really just very, very one-sided. They did not really listen to the public, and there was no consultation. And why we all registered here and want to talk to you, because there is no other platform that is allowed for us to voice our opinion. And we are well aware the limitations of this community, and we welcome suggestions where else could we go with our concerns, because so far we didn't find any channel for that. Councillor Holiday is not working with us, and Councillor Grimes just recused himself because he owns a property nearby. Now, I don't want to repeat all the concerns that you have heard before, but what I have to add that, as you know, we have several trucking companies in the neighborhood already. Some of them are right on the right, just north from New Toronto. So there will be the neighbors of 60 Birmingham side. One of these is Bondi, and the other one is like there is a cement factory and Gamble's, and these are all extending their operations. There is an application for 188 New Toronto, which is Bondi producer. They will have increased traffic load. There is an increase in the cement factory's operation. So really the whole neighborhood is overwhelmed with traffic and overwhelmed with trucks. And if the transportation department says that that is not true, and from transport point of view, this is an okay application, then I think the neighborhood is asking for an independent traffic review, because this is just not reflecting what we see in the neighborhood as residents.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Just point
Okay,
out,
can
like you said,
I
this is,
think I believe still I have just maybe a few more minutes. So I would also like to mention that there is no air quality report that has been submitted with this application, and which I think is also a major issue. And
sorry,
we are
I missed that. What's, sorry, can you
and
repeat
Simon
that? I
Street,
missed.
which is a one-way street, also like has an issue already with the current traffic that is coming in both ways. So if you increase the traffic on the right, then you definitely will increase the number of drivers who take advantage of these little residential streets. And with the school and the biking lanes and this small street, this project is just too big for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that, you do recognize that this residential community is adjacent to a properly zoned E1 ZR zone. You had the Campbell soup, the neighbors had to put up with that, whatever it was. I don't know if there's smell from making soups or whatever else, but it was there. And I assume it's been empty for a couple of years now? How long has the
It has
property
been
vacant?
has been empty for 2 years, and we do notice a large difference. We had a lot of truck traffic on our residential streets when Campbell factory was operating, and that factory it was making soup. It was not operating as a transportation unit.
Yes.
But now with Quadril's unit, as this is really a last mile distribution center, I think the traffic that is coming with it is not comparable to the traffic that we already had with the soup factory.
Right.
It's just such an increase
Realize
that
the committee is dealing with these 3 variances. We're not dealing with the larger issue of whether these buildings should be here, about the use. So we're dealing with these 3 specific issues. But thank you for your for a good presentation. Okay, the next speaker, I guess that was Susanna Lickner. That's who we just heard, right? 33 Struthers.
Yes.
And now it's Vishesh Devgan of 33 Struthers. Oh, well, that's the same address. Same address as Susanna?
Yes, yes, we live in the same house.
Okay, then we're not going to hear from you, sir. Sorry. One
I
speaker,
understand.
one speaker per
Absolutely.
neighborhood, and we got 15 people, and we have 44 applications to do in 7 hours, or it turns into 10 hours. So your wife or your partner did a very good job, but please don't take offense. But we're going to hear from one person per household. Okay, so the next speaker is Inga Machula of 94 Simmons Street. And again, it's not necessary for everyone to make a deputation. We have over 15 people.
I don't think we have Inga on the line. We had her, but I don't think we have her anymore.
Okay, and you said you didn't think we had Larry?
No, Mr. Chair, I don't see the number that they're using or their name
Okay.
online.
And Tarang Carr, again, also at 33 Struthers, same address as the other 2 people. I assume that's a single-family home. It's not an apartment building?
Hello, sir, but still I want to ask sort of a suggestion from this committee.
Slow. Excuse me, you're Mr. Tarang Carr?
Yes, I am.
33 Struthers is a single-family home?
That's true, but I want to say that where exactly we will put our voice. I mean, if you are not listening and we cannot apply or we cannot voice anywhere, where exactly we should be saying.
Staff, can you please cut this man off? I heard from a 5-minute presentation from someone at your residence, and I'm not going to hear from Mr. Devan. I'm not hearing 3 people from one address. Sorry. You can make a complaint if you don't like it. 1 speaker per household. Next speaker is David Burley at 129 Simmons. Mr. Burley?
Again, no Mr. Burley. I'm gonna try and unmute all of the call-in users to see if any of them are for this application.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, so anyone calling in via telephone, if you can just speak up if you're here to speak towards 60 Birmingham and only 60 Birmingham. Okay, so no one, I've unmuted everyone calling in. No one has responded.
Yeah, the only ones we had left registered. I see David Burley at 129 Simmons and Chris Bovenizer at 121 Simmons.
Yeah, and neither Chris Bovin.
Yeah, okay.
They're
I
not-
think we heard from, I think, you know, having said that a few people who were registered to speak either left the line, the fact that two people from 33 Struthers were not permitted to speak because we had a good presentation, a lengthy presentation from another individual in that single-family home. But we heard so that we can go back to the applicant now to get a rebuttal to all of those concerns. And I made a note that Mr. Babiak wanted to know
Thanks,
whether
Jesse.
the street parking, and particularly Mr. Slaughter wanted to know what the, if you know what the municipal plans are for improvements to the roadways and just in addition to what your client is doing to beautify and doing all that landscaping, what's the city doing about certain ingress and egress issues and improvements to the roadways?
Okay, so sorry, Mr. Chair, I just received correspondence from someone at Weston Consulting, and they advised.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the analyst, Catherine. Yeah, call her up. Just explain to her exactly what Jesse
Hello?
just said. We're not so concerned.
Sorry.
Someone's having a conversation.
Yeah, so the Ryan Getter's internet went down. I'm gonna unmute him to see if it's back.
Hi there. I'm back on my mobile device here, folks.
Oh, okay.
I had to, for some reason, my entire internet collapsed, so I'm on my mobile device. My apologies.
Okay, we can hear you. So I hope you've been hearing the various comments while you're having that issue.
Unfortunately, I got through most of Miss Susanna Lichner's comments.
Okay, there was no one who really spoke after that because we either couldn't reach them or they were from the same address, so I wasn't willing to hear from them. So you have some time to respond to the concerns raised by the neighbors, and I think some of them are not. It's
absolutely.
mainly concerns and fears of what's going to happen when you have this 24/7 facility going, and what provisions have been made. I tried to explain that a lot of this is handled through site plan. It's not our purview. So please proceed.
Well, with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your patience while I navigate the technology here. First of all, the first deputant, I'd like to simply indicate that based on the work that's been undertaken, we're not considering on-street parking associated with the Birmingham Street frontage. That's based on the input from Tom Woodhall, who sent me a note as the first deputant was speaking. The nature of speed and road safety considerations, again, Mr. Woodhall would have the ability to respond, and I may turn it over to him sort of at the tail end of my remarks. But as I mentioned, there was a detailed traffic study looking at the traffic patterning, access points as proposed, including the Dwight proposed entrance, and a very careful review of the functional elements of the loading areas as distinctive from the parking areas for visitors and employees. And it was fairly carefully thought out and has been reviewed by city staff and the transportation group. The second deputant, I'd like to just respond by indicating that we did undertake air and noise pollution assessment studies. There will be noise mitigation. Again, those matters are not the subject of the minor variance proceedings in the direct sense, but they are under review by the city and have been addressed. And there's also going to be specific conditions that have been identified by transportation staff as it relates to traffic flow signage, directional markings to ensure proper management of traffic and traffic flow. The other thing is the owners actually intend to manage the facility with the tenants and have careful control in ensuring that traffic management is critical to the success of the development, and obviously minimize the impacts of the proposed development to the local streets. And again, that's been assessed through the traffic study. The third deputant, just to respond quickly about the nature of the access locations, there were some comments also about lighting and the nature of the snow collection areas. Those are matters of site plan, but again, specifically the approach to where snow storage is, for example, is something that we can take a look at based on the feedback received as part of the site plan process. As well as lighting mitigation, we do have to ensure that there is no light spillage or seepage onto adjoining properties. And that's part of what the site plan considers as well. And the comments related to uses, as was expressed by the last deputant that I heard, Ms. Lichner, I believe. We are proposing a development that adheres to the official plan and zoning bylaw permissions in terms of use. The variances being sought are, again, confined to that of parking location specifically. And I did participate in the community engagement meeting that was held, and I can assure you that Quadrille and their efforts as the owners are intent to engage with members of the community on a continual basis. For those that are interested, there is a project website that they can subscribe to and get updates. So I'd encourage folks to do that. But with those remarks, sir, unless there's a desire to hear from Mr. Tom Woodhull from BA, those would be my responses to the deputants. And again, I thank each one for their comments that we can consider as part of the site plan related.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any follow-up questions for the agent, or for that matter for any of the neighbors? Or is someone ready to weigh in, prepared to weigh in with a motion? Yeah, and I see there's no conditions. I see that HPS, it's just the staff report for information. Were there any conditions with that? And transportation has no objection.
Question, Mr. Chair. Does transportation not have 3 conditions?
Transportation. Just pulling up this memo dated March the 2nd. No, those are just have no objection to minor variance application.
No, okay, sorry.
They indicate what the 3 variances are, but those aren't conditions.
Those are, okay, got it.
Okay.
And forestry has no alternative to the refusal?
Forestry. Is there a forestry comment on this? 31 has a forestry 5, but 30, I don't see a forestry condition.
Okay, sorry. I'm getting mine mixed up now.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. Yeah, so there's no conditions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I'm prepared to move on this. I share your intimation that most, if not all, of the issues raised today by way of objection or concern aren't part of our purview. They're site plan related considerations and should be dealt with and resolved in that forum. What is before us is simply the matter of the number of parking spaces being in excess of the maximums permitted. So that's the question we have to answer. And as far as I'm concerned, the 3 variances requested meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I'm prepared to move approval unconditionally.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. The seconder for Mr. Taylor.
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Unanimous. You have unanimous approval. Thank you, applicant. Thank you, all your neighbors, for your concerns. And your concerns are valid. They're just not dealt with in this area. So I recommend you do as the applicant said and actually look at the register for updates and keep up to date with this project as it evolves. Okay, our next application, we have another 2 on the 1 p.m. Agenda, and then we'll move on to the 3 p.m. Next application is item number 31, 385 Prince Edward Drive North. It's It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 8 variances, 3 letters of objection, 1 letter of support. We have forestry advisory comments, it appears. Planning is looking for a condition of approval or in the event of an approval that it be built, constructed as indicated on, as it relates to the building depth and length, the ground floor, second floor, and dwelling height. And the letter of support is from 386 across the street, and opposition from 383, 381, and 387. So the speakers registered to speak on this application is the agent Martin Zabzuni, and the neighbor at 389 and 383 Prince Edward, which are 2 of the 3 people that have written in. Mr. Zabzuni?
Hello, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Martin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway. So we have been working on this application for a while, and we received these letters of opposition recently from neighbors. The homeowners have spoken to some neighbors, and we reviewed the letters in depth and discussed it with the homeowners, and we concluded that it may be best to request a deferral in order to work with the neighbors and try to address their concerns as best we can, as the homeowners want to get along with the neighbors, and they love the area. They've been there for a while, so even after the hopefully it gets approved, they don't want any bad will with the neighbors at all. It's their family home, and they want to get along with everyone as best they can, even with planning being what it seems to be supportive with what we already have. But the homeowners want to work with the neighbors on this.
Yeah, and as we see, I don't know if your client or you did any pre-consultation with the neighbors, but as you said, these letters have come in. Perhaps they were unexpected. They were just, came in a few days ago. So, I think that's a very good idea. People lose track. I sit here and I see sometimes people arguing, and they're making, they're at odds with their neighbors. It's not a great to go build a new house in a neighborhood where everyone's mad at you because they feel you built something too big, and then the next year they build something even bigger. So it's I think it's a very good thing if there hasn't already been consultation and there's no big rush to take an adjournment and take a deferral and try to negotiate something that's at least going to be more palatable, or at least to have the neighbors understand where they may think they're going to be affected and give you the chance to show them that, as I think in one of your early applications, there really was no conflict with window placement and things like that. So we'll hear from the neighbors. I'm sure they'll be happy to agree to that. And we'll hear what committee members, before we go to the neighbors on the issue of the deferral, to make revisions and consult with the neighbors, whether you have any questions for Mr. Zabzuni. Okay, so let's get either Mr. Schlichter or Ms. O'Neill on the line at 389 on the issue of the deferral request.
Good afternoon, Sir Chair and fellow committee members. It's Adrienne O'Neill from 389 Prince Edward Drive North. Just a point of clarification for the record, there's actually 4 objection letters on file: 381, 383, 387, and 389, which is my property, as well as my husband, Nathan Schlichter.
I think
so. Just for clarity on that point,
389 must have come in just recently, because when I went through. But you're right, there are 4 letters of opposition. It's not, and they all seem to be close by. It's not like someone 4 blocks away. So it looks, that's why the applicant
correct.
So that's why the applicant would like to get in touch with the neighbors and perhaps do something that's more supportable by the neighbor.
Thank you for that clarity. So I do have 2 additional comments. The first would be, for the record, the applicant has indicated that the residents had reached out to try to communicate with us. That has not happened in our case. The first that we heard of this was late in February when we received the letter in the mail. And through some conversation with others in the neighborhood, that is the case as well. So that should be on the record to correct. And then second, I would be interested in understanding what the next steps are. Does this mean they're going to theoretically speak to us informally and then refile and we reconvene here? Because I'm not familiar with that, what that would entail, and I can't agree until.
Once he gets deferred, first of all, there would have to be, he'd have to resubmit and pay for the postage for a revised notice, assuming he's making changes. And I guess if he wants to consult with the neighbors, I assume he can get email addresses or phone numbers through staff or whatever. I don't know what the privacy. If you're all in the room here, it's easier to get exchange numbers, but now when you're all on the phone. So I assume he will do some consultation and reach out to one or all of the neighbors who can get you together and either send you some suggested revisions after hearing what he's the concerns from in your letters, in the 4 letters, and that there'll be a fresh hearing. You'll come back at another date, you'll get notice, you'll have a chance to write in another letter, or appear over the phone, or appear in person if we're back doing that, depending on when it is.
So we would return to this committee if there are variances requested again?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. And I just do have one final question with respect to the forestry, because forestry had identified not 1, but 4 trees that were denied in terms of being taken down. So I wanted to ensure that that is also being deferred and that there will not be any attempt to proceed with respect to that.
Yeah, the application is being deferred, so whatever urban forestry, it's one of the things that the applicant can deal with in terms of coming back with a revised application. Okay, so you're in favor of the deferral?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, so Mr. Zabzuni, everyone's in favor of the, as I assume they should be, of the deferral to 2 neighbors. You have 4 neighbors who have weighed in here, so if you can perhaps, figure out in the virtual world how to contact these people and how to send them either revisions or if you want to reach out to get further input from them based on their letters.
That's not right. Mr. Chair, we've yet to hear from 383.
Oh, sorry, right.
Can you hear me?
Other neighbor. Yeah, 383 Ursula or Shara Ahmad. Who's on the line?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay? All right. I think I like the other neighbors, have a share. The new family who moved in there, they've got kids and they want to grow the house, obviously, and I understand that. What they're proposing and the I'll talk about the variances. I'll talk about the effect on the physical environment, the natural environment, and in particular on one tree that they didn't identify on the map, which was the black walnut.
Excuse me, can I interrupt?
And that's on my property, right at the border. Can you hear me?
Sir, we're not listening to the application on the merits here today. I let the neighbor, she wanted to make some comments. All we want to know, are you in favor of this matter being deferred so that your neighbor can reconvene and make revisions based on the 4 letters of objection that he received? He's asking for a deferral, so we don't want to hear any issues on the merits right now. We're just talking about the deferral, and I'm just contacting you to see if you agree with the deferral request before the committee makes a motion for deferral.
Obviously, I agree with the deferral.
So with your
no
permission, that's all
problem
we're
with
going to deal
deferral.
with
I
today.
just want to try and find out is what are the areas that they're going to be looking at. There's a city report that says that the house should be the same size as the 1st and 2nd floor in length, and then the forestry report.
Sir, the applicant will be making changes. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what he's going to change. He's heard what everyone's written in, and he has asked for a deferral to make changes. So I'm not going to tell him what he's going to change, but he has asked for a deferral. That is a common request when something like this happens, and at the 11th hour he sees 4 letters of concern, and his client would like to be a good neighbor and to take those concerns into consideration. So although this normally takes about a minute, we cannot listen to, we don't want to hear from you on the merits. If you wrote in a letter, if you want to advise the applicant of certain issues, they like them to, but I think he knows what he's doing in terms of he's asked for a deferral to make changes. That's all we're dealing with here today. You'll have a chance.
Not a problem.
To do this. Whenever it's brought back, you'll certainly have a chance to address the committee if you continue to have concerns. But to hear from you right now is not the way he's deferring the application, so there's no point us hearing your concerns now.
Okay.
So I just wanted to weigh in with you
Understood.
and get your position on the deferral request.
Deferral is fine,
Great.
and we'll take a look at what changes you put with.
Exactly. And if you're still opposed, you'll have a chance to let us know what your concerns are when it's brought back, and you will be re-notified in the mail. But I trust the applicant will be in touch with you as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to defer.
I'll move a motion to defer so the applicant can consult with the neighbors to be more compliant.
Thank you, Mr. Kamarick.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? Matter is deferred. Okay. Next application is item number 32, which is the last item on the 1 o'clock agenda, 214 Bicknell Avenue. We have for that the applicant, or the owners rather, 214, and registered to speak, the neighbors at 222 and 212 Bicknell. It's an application for a 2-story rear addition. There's one variance, which is the north side lot line, which I assume is and we have no comments other than these two speakers. We have no letters of, was there something in the supplemental package, Mr. Carvalino? Because I had here that there was nothing here. And okay, so we have two neighbors here. I don't know if they may not understand what this application is about, but this is a north side lot variance, which is an existing condition, and I guess is being continued in line on the 2-story rear addition. So let's hear from the applicant, and then let's hear from what possibly the neighbors, what their concerns are. So Yuko Serrano?
Yes.
You're
Can
the
you hear me?
applicant? Yes.
Yes, I am the applicant. Yeah, one of the applicants. Yes.
Okay. When I reviewed this matter last night, there was nothing, no communication from city departments or from area residents. But we now have two neighbors present who would like to address the committee. So, am I correct? You're basically building a 2-story rear addition, and the side, the one variance you have is because the existing house already is in violation of that bylaw, being the location from the north side lot line, and you're just building it in line with what's there.
That is correct for the ground level. So we are planning to have a 3-story addition in the rear, 15 feet long, and the existing house situated at the 1.4 meters from the property line. And I understand now that the setback requirement is 1.5. So our plan was to continue along the current wall on the main floor. And you will see it in the variance notice that on the second floor, I mean, the variance request is for 0.77 meters setback, and that is because we are requesting on the second floor to have a wider space in the house so that 2 feet actually go over the current wall on the ground floor. So again, the ground floor still continues along the existing wall, so it'll be the 1.4 meters setback, and then the second floor.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess if you have the applicant, there is page page 13 shows the proposed addition, and then page 10 looks what it looks like from the back. So you'll see the second floor is wider, and we are requesting this primarily because one of the main goals is to add another bedroom upstairs, and we're working with the designer how we can do that. We have 3 children under the age of 6, so we'd like the space, for them to have space to grow in. So when we are trying to figure out how we can fit the 2 bedrooms, so because of the layout and because it's a semi-detached house, that the only way to fit is to have 2 rooms side by side. So I think that shows on page 10 of the so basically how the rooms are. So for the rooms to be not too narrow to have maximum space, the designer was suggesting that we might request to this committee for that the wider space. So that'll be the variance. So again, on the ground level, it's along the line, current wall, and then upstairs will be
so
the
it's the
extension.
second floor that sort of cantilevers over to give some additional space on the second floor, but not on the first floor. The first floor is being built in addition with the existing house.
That's right.
Is it 1.4 or 1.5, or it may be off by 0.01? because I see that the bylaw requirement is 1.5.
That's
You
right.
said 1.4, so you're
1.4 is the current setback. I believe that the current house sits at 1.4 meters from. So our plan is to continue along. Now I understand that that it's 1.5 is a requirement. I mean, so that I understand that that could probably be modified, but really the main is upstairs actually.
Right. So the ground floor is off by 0.1 because the existing house is already off by 0.1 from what's permitted at 1.5. You're at 1.4. And the second floor only is going to be cantilevered over on the north side lot line at 0.77. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So let's hear from the neighbors who didn't write in, but they're registered to speak. We'll see if maybe there was a misunderstanding, but we'll see what their problem is. I guess at 212, are they the neighbor on that side where it's being cantilevered? The neighbor at 212. Is that the neighbor that's most affected? Is he on your north side or is he on your south side? Mr. Carvalino, perhaps you can assist? So the guy at 212 who's registered to speak is not affected. It's the guy on the north side. You would expect the neighbor at 216 to be here with any concern. Anyway, let's hear what their concerns are. First of all, let's hear from Fausto Robaldino at 222 Bicknell.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fausto Robaldino.
Yes.
Yes, I have just had a minor. I don't have no issues with this application. The only thing is when I was reading some of these drawings, it came up to my mind that they're seeing a new parking spot. So on the chart, it says only one parking spot, so that would be two parking spots.
Okay, I don't see a parking variance, but I'll ask the owner to respond in her rebuttal. What's going on about the parking situation? But in terms of the variance, the two-story rear addition and the variance of the north side lot line, you have no concern with that, right?
No. I just was looking at the drawings and then I saw a few inconsistencies with the drawings. And then the biggest that came to my mind is I see on the chart that they have the gross floor area and everything, it says parking spots 1. And then when you look at the site plan drawing, it says new parking spot. So is that two parking spots?
Okay, we'll get the applicant to respond in her rebuttal. Okay, that's your only question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jim Kriegos at 212 Bicknell.
Yep. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi. Yeah. So my only concern is, and I'm just hoping that I'm reading this well. I'm not too familiar with it, but it looks like that I don't agree with some encroachment that would be. I guess they're trying to build some sort of party wall on the side there, and I'm just wondering that the encroachment of the party wall would go 5 inches passing through my property line, which causes a little bit of concern for the future plan of my property. And would they not be able to go or set back 1 or 2 feet inside of their property line since they have the space to do that?
Sir, can I ask you a question? Are you the other side of the semi?
Yes.
You're the other side of the semi.
Correct.
So this is a variance for the other side. But are you saying
from the north side?
The other, the overhang and the one that's coming closer to the lot line is your neighbor at their neighbor at 216. I've just had staff check on that. It's not on your side.
All right.
It's on the other side.
Okay.
If they're doing
then I apologize.
if they're doing in terms of the renovation, if they're doing other work on the other side of the house that affects your party wall, well, that's a separate issue. I don't know what they're doing here. But, in terms of the variance, it's on the other. It's on the other side. I would expect that anyone has a concern. It's the guy. It's the people at through 16 that they're getting that little bit closer on the second floor than what's on the ground floor.
Okay. Well, my apologies. I am the semi, so I was just wondering that it was on my side.
Okay. I hope you've enjoyed being on the line for the last couple hours while listening in. So.
Well, I just it was it was very interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, is Yuko Serrano, we'll go back to you. If you've been listening, the
Yes.
neighbor 222 down the street was reviewing your plans, and he's noticed, he said there's something mentioned about a new parking spot. It doesn't really affect
Yeah,
the
so
variance, but he was just wanted an explanation.
right. So currently, I guess neighbor would know that we park in, I guess, what is probably currently the proposed new patio. So that would be a new parking, but then what is currently where we park the car currently, which is alongside of the rear back of how do I explain it? Where the patio is basically, a new deck is where new deck patio is. So that because we're proposing to build a deck, so we won't park there anymore. We would park where the parking spot is proposed, and that'll be probably alongside the other two cars that the neighbors.
Okay, so the relocation of your parking does not trigger a variance. You're saying you're relocating the parking to accommodate a rear deck, but Mr.
Right.
Carlino, I don't believe parking is, there's no variance indicated. If there was a variance and it was missed, then she'd have to come back. But as far as you know, this reconfiguration does not result in any variances.
There's just the one variance, Mr. Chair, and it is under a zoning review.
Okay. Okay, committee members, any further questions for the owner, or is someone prepared to make a motion?
Mr. Palmer here. Question maybe for staff. Well, question for staff and the applicant. It appears there's a shared driveway there. And I guess my concern is that the addition appears to encroach into the shared driveway. And I believe that's a right of way. So that's an entitlement for the neighbor. Are we as a committee permitted to allow an encroachment into that driveway?
How do we know?
And just want clarification, I guess, whether that addition encroaches into the right of way.
But Neil, remember, the lady explained that the first floor is in line with the existing house, and it's only the cantilevered second floor that goes over, so may not affect the parking because the parking is below. It's only the variance is only for the second floor, which they've cantilevered over to provide enough room for 2 bedrooms.
Okay, are we allowed to permit the second floor to encroach into that easement right of way?
We're not the law department here, and if it's sufficient, I don't know how high it is enough to let the car go through and still use that spot. We can hear from the applicant on that, but my position is we deal with the variances. If there's something else, we don't have any authority or jurisdiction over that. If it creates a problem, then it's a problem, and they'll have to deal with that. But
okay.
my understanding from the applicant is it's only the second floor that has that. It's 1.4, and it's on the ground on the second floor that it's 0.77 or whatever it is.
That's correct.
So.
Okay.
So in our view, it wouldn't really impact the driveway, like the way we drive in and out of the car with ours and the neighbors' cars.
Okay, so it doesn't affect the driveway. That's why it's only being done on the second floor, not on the first floor. Any other questions, or is someone ready to make a motion?
I think, yeah, I'm concerned Mr. Palmer's raised an interesting point here. I appreciate the nature of this development, the fact that it's a cantilevered second story. I'm thinking about things like tall vehicles and their ability to get to the backyard. And I don't know, would the right of way be land-based, or does it have air rights? I don't know.
You want to speak in the mic? What do you?
Through you, Mr. Chair, without a copy of the easement, staff can't provide any information to the committee. It depends on whether or not it's from the center of the earth to the heavens, or if it's just a surface easement. We don't know.
Yeah, I think the danger is when we start thinking outside of what our purview is. I think if there's an issue, we have to assume that the vehicle can, I assume that area is used both for the applicant's vehicle as well as the neighbor. It's not just, she's not just affecting her own parking pass-through if it's a right-of-way or easement. So we have to assume if it's an issue, then it wouldn't be permitted. But if it's a second floor, it's really not, but that's a legal issue. It's not really before us. As far as what they're coming to us, that hasn't been flagged as an issue. So.
But potentially, Mr. Chair, we could approve something and then it could still be challenged from a legal perspective.
Okay, so we can refuse it, or we can, we can't keep deferring applications after we've heard them for, because there's some potential legal issue here. A question for the applicant: does the neighbor drives through that area as well, correct?
That's correct. And so based on our sort of information, there isn't really a vehicle that is wide enough or narrow enough to be able to pass through that driveway, the current driveway, but tall enough to block the second floor. So again, like as far as we know, it shouldn't really impact the use of shared driveway.
Okay. So
but again, if the city or someone else has I guess a definitive information, then that would be helpful as well.
Is it wide enough to? Is it wide enough to drive to the back? Is there parking in the rear?
So we park in the rear. So, but then we say, for example, if the truck or certain size, you won't be able to pass. It's not a very wide driveway. It's a driveway that's, I believe that is.
Is the cantilever portion high enough that a car can go through, an SUV can go through?
That's right. Yeah, we have an SUV.
Okay. Anyway, awaiting a motion.
Okay, I'll move for approval. I think all things considered, the variance requested is minor in nature. If there's a legal issue, I guess when the building permit is issued, the building department will have to deal with any legal issues. But the variance requested is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests in the Planning Act. So I'm comfortable from that perspective to recommend approval.
Okay, thank you.
And it looks like there's no conditions. So
nope, there's one variance and no conditions. And other than those 2 people that just weighed in and came here, we had no communication either. Seconded for Mr. Palmer's motion. Okay, Ms. Rudd, thank you.
Give it to Sophia.
Yep. All in favor? Give unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, staff has to do the sound check for the 3 o'clock time slot.
Sorry? Go ahead. We'll reconvene at 4:30.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience, those who have stuck around. I'm going to start the 3 o'clock sound check now. Helen He.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, you're here as the agent.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. You're coming in loud and clear, Helen. You're here as the agent for item 33, 19.
Agent for
19 and 21 Jutland, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you back on mute. Hi, Joe.
Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi. You're the owner of 19 Jutland, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you won't be speaking. Helen will be speaking on your behalf, correct?
That's right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joe. I'm going to put you back on mute, all right?
Okay.
Hi, Richard. Richard? Richard?
Yes, hi.
Hi, you're coming in very faintly, Richard. If you can approach the microphone a little bit.
Is now better?
Yeah, Richard, that's a lot better.
Okay, very good.
I'm gonna put you on mute, okay?
Sure thing.
Hi, Shima.
Hi there, Shima
Hi.
here.
Hi, you're here to speak to item number 34, correct? 1475 Albion Road?
Yes, on behalf of Councillor Michael Ford.
Okay, all right, thanks, Shima. I'm gonna put you back on mute, okay?
Awesome.
Si Jing?
Yes, I am here for 72 ELMCREST Road.
Okay, thank
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're coming in loud and clear. I'm gonna put you back on mute, okay?
Okay.
Hi, Enzo.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. Okay, you're coming in loud and clear. You're the agent for item 3618 Whaley Drive, correct?
18 Whaley.
Yeah, 18 Whaley.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you said 3618.
No. Item 3618 Whaley.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna put you back on mute.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, is this Robert Fernicola?
You got it.
And you're representing item 37 for 28 NEILOR Crescent, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. I'm gonna put you back on mute, okay?
Thank you.
Hi, Maisa.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Okay, you're coming in loud and clear. You're the agent for item number 38, 83 27th Street, correct?
Yes, correct. But I'm calling on my phone. Is that a good way? I mean, do you hear me clear or that's
Yeah.
too loud?
No, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back
Thank
on
you.
mute, all right?
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Jim.
Jim is here.
Yep, you're here for item 38 as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back on mute, all right, Jim?
Thanks.
Lori Penny.
Yes, it's me.
Hi, Lori. You're here as well for
Hi.
item 38, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back on mute, all right, Lori?
Thank you.
Hi, Andy.
Hi,
Hi, you're
I'm here.
You're here.
8327th?
Yeah, 8327th. Okay, I'm gonna put you back on mute, Andy.
Very good.
Christine, you're here as well for 8327th?
I am.
Okay, you're coming in a little bit faint.
Is this better?
A little bit, but not too much better.
That's weird. Just give me a sec. Let's see. Is this better?
A little bit. Not substantially.
Is this?
That's a lot
Test,
better.
test.
Yeah,
There we
a,
go.
That's
Okay.
a lot better. Okay, thanks, Christine. I'm gonna put you back on mute, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Hi, is this Yuri?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Yuri. You're the agent for item number 39, 268 Weston Road?
268 Western Road. That's correct. I'm here with the owners.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm gonna put you back on mute, all right?
All right, thank you.
Hi, Lena.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, okay, you're coming in loud and clear. I'm gonna put you back on mute, all right?
Thank you.
We had Amber. Hi, is this Tashi Dondup?
Yes, speaking, I'm here.
And you're the owner for 66 the Westway. You're representing the application, correct? You're going to be presenting?
Myself, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you back on mute, all right?
Thank you.
Hi, Daniela. Daniela? Daniela? Okay, I'm gonna come back to Daniela. I know I saw. I got a text. Hi, Peter.
Hi, speaking.
Hi. Okay, you're coming in loud and clear. I'm just gonna put you back on mute, okay?
Okay, good.
Hi, Ian.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna put you back on mute.
Okay.
And Elizabeth from item 44. Hi, Daniela. Daniela. Daniela.
Okay, you good? Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Chair, before we start, if
Yep.
I can, I'm not feeling well, and I think I'd like to bow out of the last
Okay.
part of this meeting.
Feel better.
Okay, thank you.
Have some chicken soup.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care, Stan.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so good afternoon. First of all, we're just about to start the 3 o'clock time slot. We're delayed. We ran late on both the morning and on the 1 p.m. Hearing time slots. Okay, during the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wishes to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, your address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure will be as follows. I'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When making when your application is uncontested and there's no one here in opposition or with concerns, the agent or applicant will proceed with the presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. On a contested application, the applicant or agent proceeds first and makes a presentation to committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised, in order to ensure that the revised application is both accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes, and committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. When all speakers with concerns or in opposition are finished speaking, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that have been raised by the speakers, not to introduce new information. That will then mark the end of the discussion on the application on the matter, and the application is taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for items in the 3 o'clock time slot? None to declare. Also note that Mr. Kamarick will not be present for the 3 p.m. Agenda. And so the other members, I'm Michael Clark, the chair. We have Mr. Don Taylor and Mr. Neil Palmer and Ms. Sophia Ruddick are the members present. Okay, so having said that, we can then proceed. There are no deferral requests at the 3 o'clock time slot, sir? Okay. First application is 19 and 21 Jutland Road. And my computer just died. Okay, I can just introduce it while we're... this to legalize and maintain. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. To legalize and maintain a one-story addition, walk-in cooler between the two existing industrial buildings, a one-story south side addition, and a new loading space. There are 5 variances. We have a copy of an order to comply. We have 3 letters of opposition, and transportation has conditions of approval. And registered to speak on this application is Helen W. He, agent, and as well speaker from 19 Jutland, who I assume is the owner of the property. So I assume they're together? Okay. So who's going to be speaking, the agent or the owner? Okay. Is Helen He?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm here, right? Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm an agent of the owner to speak about this like a minor variance. Basically, the facility is warehouse and meat processing plant. So basically, there's a 30 feet truck in and out from this property. So we need a space at the front, also at the back, to allow the 30-feet truck turn around and exit. So the zoning requirements asks for 3-meter wide strip of soft land at the front, which is impossible for us. So we need, as I said, the 30-feet truck need a turnaround space, and also the takeout restaurant at the front. So we need a parking space for temporary parking. So that's why we cannot fully comply with this requirement. But we do provide some T-shaped soft land. Host, would you please share the information of the site plan A1?
You want to have that up on the screen?
Yeah, A1.
Okay, while he's getting that, I just want to confirm that you're okay with the transportation condition that they're recommending? You see, transportation is okay. They have no objection to variances 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
And they're asking that.
Yeah, we have, because we're asking for 3.5 meters at the back, abutting the residential zone. So we cannot give 7.5 meters, but we can give 41 meters. It allows us to have a parking spot at the back and also allow the 30-feet truck turn around at the back.
Okay, I understand you're going to give 417 as opposed to 7.5. But what I'm asking you is, if you look at the transportation memo dated February 25th, at the end it says, based on the foregoing, we have no objection to the minor variance application subject to the applicant undertaking the following condition to the satisfaction of transportation services. Do you see that? So I just want to know if you're okay with that the site plan must be revised to illustrate the installation of south-facing signs on the west wall of 19 Jutland and the east wall of 21 Jutland, located just south of the north wall of each building, indicating the following. Watch for reversing vehicles. Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, it's acceptable.
Okay.
We just put the signs, right?
If
Yeah, because
the transportation department is saying, if we approve your variances, they want
Oh,
this as a
okay.
condition. Or I'm asking you if you're okay with that condition, if you have any problem with that condition. Are you willing to accept that condition?
Can you repeat the requirements
Okay, it's the
again?
last line of the memo dated December 25th. The site plan must be revised to illustrate the installation of south-facing signs on the west wall of 19 and the east wall of 21 Jutland, located just south of the north wall of each building, indicating the following: watch for reversing vehicles. It's like a safety.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we can comply.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're okay with that, okay?
no problem. Yeah, no
So
problem.
have you reviewed, we don't have anyone appearing here in person, but we have 3 letters of opposition that the committee has been given to, and even though if they're not here, the concerns in these 3 letters, would you like to address those concerns? Have you read those letters of opposition?
No, sorry, but nobody sent me the letters.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
supposed
have
to
this
check the
letter in my
website.
hand.
Okay, in the future, if you're going to be here on applications, I don't know if you're a regular agent that comes before committee from lettusdesignbuild.com, you have to check the online portal, and that's where stuff is deposited. So in the future, you should review that before you come to committee to know, first of all, the people showing up, what their concerns are, and just even if they're not here, the committee has read
Okay.
these letters and is entitled to take them
Yeah,
into consideration.
yeah, okay.
Okay? So while
yeah,
you're
okay.
doing it, let's just see also if committee members have any questions for you. They say the legalization of the one-story south side addition, the walk-in cooler. So first of all, it's already there? It's
Yes,
there
it's
already,
already
right? Okay,
there.
without a permit. So the noise, it says the legalization of one-story south side addition, walk-in cooler with new loading space will take away from our peaceful, quiet enjoyment of our backyard. The noise of the industrial cooling unit used to keep the cooler refrigerated and trucks delivering and unloading will make it impossible to enjoy our deck and backyard. Okay, so that's one letter, and then there's a couple of others from other neighbors on KANE. Okay, committee members, any questions for the agent? So, you know, you already have this facility there. The question is, it is made even worse by the one-story walk-in cooler addition. They're saying that there's trucks idling, there's smells because they're refrigerated trucks or something, noise. And so the issue is, wasn't that already there before you did this addition? How big is the building for this use other than this one-story small?
Yeah, the
cooler
one-story
between the two
building.
buildings?
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, because the existing building, there's 2 existing buildings, the brick ones at west side and east side. They already used as for the warehouse, right? And the meat process plant. There's no change of the use. I think there is existing condition, even without any addition of this facility.
Okay, so you're saying even though it was already a meat processing plant, so whatever it is.
Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
Everything is there.
Okay, let's see if committee members have any questions or if someone's ready to make a motion. Planning, I guess, is okay with this. We haven't heard from planning, correct? We just have the transportation condition. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I feel that it's extremely important to adhere to zoning requirements between industrial and residential uses, which are probably the 2 least compatible uses in any zoning bylaw.
Yep.
And I think the neighbors have raised a lot of very legitimate concerns that largely stem from the fact that the additions were built without a building permit. And the process that we're going through today. We are to assess proposals as if they weren't there. And on that basis, the concerns that I have lead me to the conclusion that this proposal doesn't meet any of the tests under the Planning Act, and I move for refusal.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion? Sophia Reddick. Okay, all in favor? Mr. Palmer? You're opposed? Are you in favor or you're opposed to the motion? Can't hear you.
Sorry, I am opposed.
Okay, so and I will abstain to avoid a tie. So the motion application is refused 2-1 with 1 abstention. Thank you. Applicant, Ms. Keith, your application has been refused. Okay, we'll move on to the next application. Item number 34, 1475 Albion Road.
Okay.
This is an application to construct a 2-story east side addition, a 1-story west side addition, and a 2nd-story addition above the existing building. There are 3 variances. Planning has 5 conditions of approval, all sort of landscape related. Transportation has conditions. Councillor Ford is in support. I'm just looking with oh yeah, and we have Kipling Towers at 2435 has weighed in with a letter, and I guess the manager of the building next door, and they would like a grading plan review. I'm not sure. I had a note here to ask staff if we have any authority over that to impose a grading review. Okay, so so those were just my notes. So we have as speaker Richard Risk, the owner, and as well registered to speak Shima Bana from Councillor Ford's office. We have a letter in support, so I assume that's to confirm that support. So is Mr. Risk there, please?
Yes, hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, hi, how are you, committee members?
We're doing fine. How are you?
Good.
So in terms of, I don't know if we need a fulsome presentation here unless committee members want. You've seen the planning and the transportation conditions. Are those acceptable to your client?
Yes. So we've been, in close contact with the councillor's office and multiple discussions with planning, transportation, and urban forestry. We have adjusted the plan according to all of the city standards, and we're happy to move forward with the way that all of the planning, transportation, and urban design staff have reviewed. We also have the support of the councillor and the support of our neighboring building as well.
Yes. Although I see in the neighbor, I was just asking staff, the neighboring building, they've said there are no issues with it, but they were requesting the committee require a grading plan review to ensure the subject property will be able to institute adequate drainage away from our property. We don't typically impose that type of a condition, so.
Yeah, they spoke it over with us. They just want to make sure that we're going to drain away from the property, which we're just doing a simple extension. It's going to be very straightforward. There's not going to be any issues with that.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Risk before we turn it over? And the other speaker is, I believe, the councillor's office, just indicating their support. Does anyone have it? Mr. Palmer, I see you have your hand up. Question?
Yeah. Sorry, the neighbor also indicated an issue with potential parking issues. So I'm wondering if we do give approval, if the applicant would be okay to maybe having a sign put up, no parking on adjacent property, something to that effect.
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine with us.
Okay.
Okay. Next speaker.
Plus, just to add to that, sorry, yeah, we have more than enough parking already on site. So we wanted,
I know that there's no parking variance here, right?
No
So-
parking issues.
Yeah. Okay, Shima Bana from Councillor Ford's office.
Hi there. Thank you for your time, committee. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Just on behalf of the counselor, we've worked really closely with Richard over the last few months just to make sure that all the check marks are filled out from transportation, from planning, urban design. Any issues that may have risen up, we've already dealt with Richard. So on behalf of the community of Etobicoke North and just, trying to revitalize that area, changing it from a dealership to something much more productive and, something that will improve Kipling and Albion and the surrounding area. We just want to make sure that, he has our full support and he has planning support. And so just wanted to come on here, just make sure that the committee is aware of the improvements that will be taking place.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be improvement from a used car lot or whatever is there now, and stimulate the local economy. I see in the letter creation of new businesses and well-paying jobs, especially during COVID. Okay, so
Exactly.
it's nice to see the councillor getting involved with this application and having you stay on the line to reiterate that support. Any questions for Shima Bana from the councillor's office, or is someone ready to make a motion?
I will move for approval. Meets the four tests in the Planning Act. It's minor in nature. So subject to the conditions listed by Planning Department regarding LCs and landscape cost estimate, and landscape plan and whatnot. And subject to the revisions on the site plan requested by engineering and transportation. And maybe in addition to that, maybe just a no parking on adjacent site, sign to that effect.
Yeah, the trouble with that, yeah, this is just someone of Mr. Carvalino to get his opinion on that. Typically, when we have an issue, it's an issue of enforcement. Is this something that we should be imposing as a condition to put up a sign? What if the sign comes down? Who's going to enforce that?
It's a private
Okay,
matter.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying typically if we don't have an enforcement provision, that it raises more problems than it would. Obviously, are they going through site plan? So perhaps that is something that would be raised in site plan.
Okay,
Now, we
and
do have forestry condition.
subject to,
Yeah.
sorry, subject to the forestry condition number 2 as well.
Okay, so we got the transportation, forestry, and planning landscape conditions. Okay, thank you for that. Seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. You have unanimous approval, Mr. Risk.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, item number 35 is 72 ELMCREST. 70 ELMCREST Road. This is an application to legalize and maintain the existing as-built dwelling. A previous Committee of Adjustment application approved variances related to building height and second-story platform area. We now have 2 new variances for the flat roof height and the, I guess it's both flat roof height under different, 2 different zoning bylaws. 569 2013 and the 230-42. Yeah, and I noted back when they got that those 2 variances, if it matters, that it was already a legalized and maintained solution, a situation back in February 2016. So even when they got the other 2 approvals, they were maintained situations. I'd like to hear from the applicant whether this was something after the fact or something that was just missed in 2016. And we have 1 speaker registered, Sia Zing, agent.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is C. Singh, and I'm the agent for 72 ELMCREST Road. So this variance was actually something we missed back in 2016. The 0.3 meter in height increase is the parapet of the flat roof, and we had missed
Sorry,
that.
you're breaking up. Can you try to speak a little
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's
Can
better.
you hear me? Yeah, the 0.3 meter height is, we missed that back in 2016, represents the height of the parapet on the flat roof.
Okay, so
And
so when you came to committee in 2016, or it looks like it was the same owner at the time?
yes, yes, and
they got
the
approval.
owner,
Yeah, okay. It was to legalize and maintain a detached dwelling with an attached garage that is currently under construction. At that time, you got a height variance of 7.46, and you got the platform area of 8.8 square meters, and existing second-story platform of 9.3 meters. So now you're coming back for two other heights. So they're saying that was missed. It's just a different.
it's the same. Yeah, these two represent the same height increase.
So
they're
there's
they're essentially the same.
And it's the same construction. No one came back and built something after.
No one came back. No.
Okay,
And
so it's just something that was missed.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have. Yeah, we just have the order to comply. We have no conditions.
The order was complied with lifted after that was
So there
2016.
doesn't appear to be any conditions here. Committee members, any questions for the agent? So basically, they got their two variances for maintain and approve in 2016, but they missed these two height-related variances at the time. Phil, was that a waiver in 2016, or I guess it doesn't really matter? Yeah, okay. So does anyone have any questions, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I find the variances meet the four tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval without conditions.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion? Mr. Palmer, all in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, item number 36 is 18 Whaley Drive. It's an application to construct a two-story east side addition to include an attached garage, a one-story rear addition for a secondary suite, a new front porch and rear deck, and the existing detached garage is to be demolished, and the existing rear shed is to be maintained. There are 7 variances. Urban Forestry 2 and 5. We have revised revision page. Perhaps we can get on the screen showing the revisions that were made. First 4 variances were reduced. The 5th variance was eliminated. And the 7th variance was eliminated. Okay, and the speaker on this application is Enzo Lacasano. Mr. Lacasano, welcome.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Okay.
We've been working with the planning department over the last couple of weeks, and we've come up with, we've reduced the addition from the front and the back. Again, we were trying not to create additional variances with the garage with regards to the garage space inside. So we're able to reduce that slightly from the front and the side, and reduce the majority of the length that they were concerned about from the rear of the property, which in fact ended up eliminating one of the variances for ancillary buildings to a residential, which is number 7. So we're able to satisfy planning. This is a very unique street in which not much has been done since the 50s to any of these buildings. We've only got 2 examples. If you could pull up that support drawing or support diagram.
Yeah, while he's doing that, just point out, I forgot to mention, there's a condition of approval.
Sure.
For, community planning. were to be developed, constructed as illustrated on the architectural plans as they relate to building length and the ground and second floor. You're okay with that, as I assume?
That's correct. Yes,
And I mentioned the urban forestry conditions.
correct. There is one city tree in the front, which we are more than 6 meters away, but we understand we have to properly protect the tree.
Yes.
And as you can see on this diagram,
Yeah.
there's only two buildings. Number 24, which was an addition that was put in over 10 years ago. And it's actually the cousins of number 18. That's where they got this idea from. And number 4 down the street, which was built in the 70s. Other than that, these buildings are totally untouched. This is really the first of its kind on the street of this sort of addition, which follows number 24.
Okay.
And it's sort of the new trend where this is an in-law suite for the young couple that bought number 18. The parents are moving in, and instead of sticking them in the basement, we've decided that a nice ground floor suite with an integral garage would be much more appropriate for them, which is a nice change than just sticking these basement units in.
For sure. And I just say hasn't been a lot on the street. And fortunately, sometimes when you're one of the first in the street, all the neighbors, there's a big hue and cry about change. So we don't have any neighbors weighing in with concerns on this application. So.
Yeah, our client did approach the adjoining neighbors, number 16 and number 20, before proceeding.
Okay, Mr. Lacasano, very good. So we have these 4 variances and 7 variances, and you have the conditions.
No, we only have 5.
What did I do here? Oh, sorry.
Number.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay,
number 5 and.
You're right. I pulled up the old plan, not the.
Yeah, no worries.
The highlighting. Okay, so you have the 5 variances. You've shown that you've made some changes, and there's no opposition. You're okay with the conditions from urban forestry and community planning. So let's see if committee members have any follow-up questions, or if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I have a question. Urban forestry, as you apparently know, has requested the imposition of their condition number 1 with respect to a city-owned tree.
Yes.
They also, in a subsequent memo dated March 2nd, request condition number 2, which relates to privately owned tree.
Yes, at the back, there's a small tree near the deck.
Okay, so you're aware of and okay with urban forestry conditions 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that basis, Mr. Chair, I would move for approval. I find the variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act. So subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2 and the condition requested by the Planning Department, I move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Roddick got her hand up first. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Lacasano.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item number 37 is 28 NEILOR Crescent.
That's correct. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, just hang on 1 second. I just want to, this is an application for a 2nd-story front addition, and there's only 1 variance, the floor space index from 0.45 to 0.47, a whopping maybe 12 square meters more than it's permitted. And we have,
yes, I think
TRCA advises no objection, but the permit is, I guess, required or approved, or you already have an approval from them. And that's all we have.
From the TRCA, yes, I do.
Yeah, that's all we have. So we don't need a presentation from you. You can't get any more minor than this. So see if committee members have any questions, or more likely are ready to make a motion. Unless there's something you'd like to add.
Nope.
Okay.
No issues. I'll move for approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the tests in the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you.
There's a street named after me in Toronto. Never knew that. So no conditions.
Okay. Seconder for.
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion, and I wish to award the applicant an award for the minorest of minor variances on this agenda.
Yeah. By far. Okay.
Okay.
All in favor? Unanimous approval.
Thank you very much, and I accept the award.
Okay.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Okay, item number 38 is 83 27th Street. It's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And there are two variances, the floor space index and the location from the slightly closer to the front lot line than permitted. So the one major variance is the floor space index. We have urban forestry condition number 1. We have a revised application. We have 1 letter of support, 6 letters of opposition. The Long Branch Neighborhood Association requests refusal. We do have the revised application, and the speakers, we have several speakers. We have Mesa Kidder, from 2MK Architects, the agent, and we have various neighbors, 4 neighbors registered to speak on various streets. Doesn't look like any of them are adjacent. 68 Alder, 96 27th, 12 Jasmine, and 11 Atherton. That's Christine Mercado from the Long Branch Association. So let's hear from the applicant. Okay. Yeah, we put the revisions up on the screen for everyone's benefit.
Hello, can I speak now?
Yes.
Oh, hello, Mr. Chair and committee members. Hi again. Name is Mesa Kidder, address 3461 Dixie Road. So this application is for a new detached house, 2-story house. The variances we have right now is only 1 variance. We've done a couple of revisions to the design. We spoke to the zoning examiners and the planners, and we followed the planner's recommendation to reduce the FSI to 62% or below. So we managed to do this. So right now we have only 1 variance, that is the FSI, and there is an updated zoning notice that has been posted online. The remaining, we are complying with everything for the zoning bylaw. Therefore, we think this application is of a minor nature. We hope that the committee reviews this application and help us with, giving a reasonable size house for this family. There has been similar applications previously approved by the committee for FSI higher than 63%. I've listed the addresses in my letter. We also received a lot of support from the neighbors. We have more than 15 letters of support. I don't know if you, Mr. Chair, can see these letters. We posted all these letters of support from the neighbors.
Sorry, there's 11. I have 11. Sorry, 11 letters of support. I said 11. I see we have here, and we have 6 letters of objection, and we have.
Yes.
So I'd like to hear what those people's concerns are. You have, I don't know, maybe they were objecting. We'll hear from them based on before you brought down the FSI and eliminated the other variants, because you brought the FSI down substantially. So the interesting thing is whether those objections were while you were at the original FSI of 0.68 times the lot, which you've now brought down to 0.62, correct?
62%. Actually, in the zoning notice, it's 61.6%.
Well, I guess they rounded it up to 62, but you were at 68. So you have.
Yeah, so we reduced the. Yes, we reduced.
It'll be interesting to hear from when we hear from the neighbors, the ones that are here, as opposed to the ones that wrote in. If there's some of them are the same, if they were concerned or complaining about your previous FSI, including the Ratepayer Association, Long Branch Association, because I know they're against it as well. We do have urban forestry number 1 condition. I'm just looking at these letters. Yeah, again, I'm trying to look at the dates here because we'll have to hear from these neighbors. Like the first neighbor at 96, who's here registered to speak, she wrote in a letter. I'm trying to see the date on it, whether it was on the previous iteration or even after you've made changes. So we'll want to hear if any of the objectors have reconsidered based on the reduction that you made. So with your permission, unless someone has any questions for the agent, let's hear from the neighbors and you'll have a chance to respond. Okay? Yeah, you see the letter says, cramming into a smaller lot nearly twice the permitted FSI of 0.35. So you've now brought it down from a little bit more. So we'll see if that changes their position. Okay.
Hello. Am I allowed to speak?
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I have seen the letters of objection from the neighbors. Sorry, I was waiting to see if anybody from the neighbors want to speak up. But anyway, I've seen the letters of objection. So in terms, one of the letter is saying that, let me just give me a moment to see that letter from Lori Penny is saying that we are like this house. The position of this house is specifically awkward because it lies perpendicular to the backyard of 68 Alder and encroaches in their privacy. Actually, this address, 68 Alder, is away from our address.
Yeah.
It's not abutting to our property for this application. So there's probably some confusion here.
I was
don't know
trying
if
to find that property on our location map, and it doesn't appear to be there.
Yeah.
So actually, it's
Yeah,
the next speaker, so we'll have to hear where that person is located, because I see it's next to a house on Alder, but it's 73
away.
and 75, so I don't know where 68 is.
Yeah, it's away from our address, so there's probably some confusion. I just wanted to clarify this.
Yeah.
And there were other letters that were addressing the tree on the street. So this tree is for the city. It's in the boulevard, and we'll definitely follow the City of Toronto requirements in terms of tree protection. This tree was not shown in the survey because it's outside the property. It's about 5 feet away from the property line, so it wasn't shown there.
It's a city tree.
It's
correct?
for the.
It's in the city boulevard.
Correct. It's for the. It's in the boulevard. Correct.
Do you tend to protect that? Do you tend to protect that tree? That's what you have
Yes,
one.
for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not going to be in the way of the construction.
No, it's away from construction, and for any permit application that is submitted to the city, we have to show tree protection. So we definitely comply with the city requirements in terms of tree protection. Other concerns were the FSI, and we worked with the planning to reduce the FSI. So that is the best we can do, and I hope that this can be reviewed by the committee and approved, hopefully.
Well, planning hasn't weighed in. You made the change at planning's request. Planning has not weighed in opposition to the current application at your current FSI. So let's hear from the neighbors, and you'll have a chance to respond to anything they have to say. Okay? Unless anyone has any questions for Ms. Keider before we move on to the next speaker. Okay. Next speaker, Jim Yetter from 68 Alder Crescent. And sir, if you can let us know where you are in relation to the property.
I'm on the north side of Alder Crescent, in the same position as 73 Alder Crescent is.
Okay.
So
it's cut off
a couple
on my
weeks
map.
ago.
So you're directly across the street from 73.
That's correct.
Okay, now I know where you. Okay, it's just cut off on our location map.
Yes.
Okay, let us know. So are you aware, sir, that I don't know if you're one of the people that wrote in letters?
Yes, I am.
But were those letters, your concerns, are you aware of that the applicant has made changes and brought down the massing of her application from the time it was mailed out?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
I worked from the documentation that was sent to me. I don't consider the change in massing significant. I'd say that's insignificant.
Okay, fair enough.
When you compare it to the FSI number itself as a pure number. One of my points of contention is the fact that even though there are many homes on 27th Street that are significantly massive, I don't think it's logical to approach this and say that if we've overmassed in the past, it's a good idea to continue that logic, but that's a separate issue. I want to speak specifically about the relationship of 73 Alder, because I did go across the street and talk to the neighbors about it, and they had no desire to contend this application. My concern is that the logic is frequently used to say, well, if we've done this before, it's okay to do it again. And there's an application at 99 27th that was deferred a couple of weeks ago that is virtually a mirror image from what this is on my backyard. So the effect of 83 to 70, 8327 to 73 Alder is the exact same thing of 99 to my house at 68 Alder.
I see.
So I guess looking at these things, I wanted on the record that, everyone is a unique application, and I don't think we can use the logic of saying we've done this before, so it's okay to do it again.
Yeah, no, we look at every application is looked on and its unique circumstance. Obviously, people point to precedents, and in some certain cases, we have one application today where it was a completely unique situation because the lot was 2.5 times the other lots, and it was a rear deck, second floor deck, and so the neighborhood association wanted to weigh in and just confirm that it's not going to create a precedent, so that they could refer back to it if anyone tried to use it as a precedent, because that's the problem. They use precedents, but the situations may be different, as you point out. Like in this situation, you're in a key lot situation. It's not like someone's directly behind you. The relationship of 73 to the subject property, or where you are, even though I can't see it, to the one further down at 99 27th, it's a different situation than having someone right behind you because you're in that sort of key lot situation.
Yeah, it's almost a mirror image.
Okay, so you say at 0.62 from 0.68, you don't feel is enough of a movement to...
Not when you compare it to 0.35.
Yeah, okay. And you haven't done a survey.
I'm an engineer, so I get hung up on numbers.
Yeah, so I don't know if the 0.35 is what's actually, if that's considered low by today's standard for new builds, so we should...
Okay, I guess I'd like to say one more thing then. I grew up in this neighborhood, so I've been associated with Long Branch for 60 years.
Yep.
Well, 61 in May. And the one thing, so I've seen a lot of change here, and what we've got are a lot of homes that are lot line to lot line. And, there's the standard side yard setback, but they become lot line to lot line. And they have changed the flavor of the neighborhood. I live in a house that was built up based on severances. So, but that happened in the 60s.
Right.
And I think as we continue to allow these type of developments, we have a significant change on the flavor of the neighborhood. I think the others are going to speak to that in more detail, but I just want to get that out there.
Thank you, Mr. Yetter.
That's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Yetter before we go on to the next speaker? Okay, the next speaker is Lori Penny at 96 27th Street, and I believe we have a letter on file.
Yes, hi. I'm a little thrown off course here because I didn't realize the FSI had been reduced, but as Jim said, and I agree, I still find it very substantially over. It has been reduced somewhat, but I don't think enough to make a huge difference on that still smaller size of lot. One of the things I wanted to say, as I said, now I'm a little off kilter. You know, what I see happening, like I will see that property, that's the second house in sort of across from where I am. And I see it from my dining room and my living room. And what is happening is, you know, we've been particularly hard hit with a lot of big builds, overbuilds, et cetera, that's been going on in the last couple of years. And this is going to just create more of a solidified block of buildings during the day, which is sort of the antithesis of the whole character of Long Branch, why I moved here in the first place, in terms of just creating a brick wall. By day and by night, there's a problem with light pollution because these new builds all have multiple lights in the front, very bright halogen lights. And so there's no real distinction of reasonable darkness anymore in an area that had that characteristic of trees and some darkness, some character. I mean, this is part of you know, what the experience is of Long Branch. So I find that distressing. And I feel as though these new builds are becoming like we're putting a brand new housing development on top of an old established area. And it's very discombobulating. I feel this as a resident. I find I'm feeling greatly distressed by watching this all go on, experiencing all of this, and basically not recognizing this part of my street anymore. And unfortunately, this is just another addition to that overall effect of what's happening here. Aside from all the upheaval that goes on when this thing is in the throes of being put together. And one incentivizes another. One big build incentivizes another, unfortunately. And there's been too much of it going on 27th. There really has. And in particular, this block. And there's a creeping effect of these very large homes that are coming into play. And as I said, just changing the whole look and feel and livability of this part. And I find it incredibly distressing.
It's, you know, I know it's not just this application, it's what's gone on and will continue to go on as, you know, there was an article that said your house makes more than you do, where housing's going up faster than more than people can earn doing a job. And you know, the more you build and money's cheap and you build, the more you build, the more, more it's worth. And
there's something else going on. It's become a money-making endeavor. It's no longer a place to live, a home to live. For me, this is my home that I live.
Yeah, well.
And, you know, in a lot of cases, and as I said, one big build begets another, bigger, more expensive, more money, and it's a snowball effect. It really is. And as long as there's no sort of more distinct boundaries of what is permissible and what isn't, these applications keep getting pushed. And I'll tell you something that happens in this area. It has been happening because we've had an older population. Every time a person dies here, not only do I lose a friend and a neighbor, but I know there's going to be an application put in to the Committee of Adjustments for a big new build. So it's a double whammy. It's a double depression as far as I'm concerned. You know, this isn't an old established neighborhood. It's supposed to stand for some character, some integrity. It's supposed to have something that is solidified and not just sort of be blown off because it's the trend of the day for money and for, you know.
Yeah, it's certainly not the only area of the city, not the only other city that's been undergoing change for the last many years, and the
decade,
keeps getting pushed. But what we're dealing with, ma'am, is this one particular application, so we can't solve all the ills of.
I understand that, but it's part of this 5-house block that have all been part of this.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Penny. Does anyone have any questions? And we have your letter up on the screen as you were speaking.
And I'm sorry, I did confuse 68 with 73. I meant to say 73, not 68, encroaching on the privacy.
Okay, thank you.
I got them confused.
So if no one has any questions for Lori Penny, we'll move on to, I guess, 2 speakers from the Long Branch Association. I assume one speaking about trees and one speaking about planning. Andy Choles.
Good afternoon. My name's Andy Choles. Live at 12 Jasmine Avenue. 83 27th Street is just around the corner from my house. We walk by twice a day. I'm out with my dog. I wonder if I could have on the screen the letter of objection regarding tree canopy from Judy Gibson, March the 3rd. There's a little chart there about the tree canopy. I'm here to speak in opposition about this application, not only because it's an overbuild, but because of fear for the life of the tree in the front yard. This wonderful tree in the front yard is not shown on the survey or any of the drawings of the house as mentioned. There doesn't seem to be much mention in the forestry report other than informing us that an application must be filled out to injure or destroy a city tree. The owner agent is not clear who filled out the chart on the Long Branch building guidelines, but on page 16 mentions nothing about trees. The first column lists trees and following columns spell out a number of expectations around trees. The only response from the owner, builder agent, whoever it was, is they were going to reduce impervious hard surfaces wherever possible. No mention is made of actual trees. There's only one tree on this property. It seems that its well-being is being ignored. Now, while we've been told today that tree will be protected with a tree protection zone, I'd like to get it in writing and get it on a condition of anything to going forward with this particular plan. We've had cases further down the street at number 75, I'm thinking of, where there was a tree that was at least a century old that miraculously survived a build of one of these soldier houses, double wide, where they dig a hole pretty much 50 feet wide and the roots of the tree are right in front of there. It was a miracle that it survived, but it did survive, only to be cut down within a couple of years of the house being built because the tree growing where it was happened to be in the way of the garage. And in order to save the homeowner from zigging in order to get in their driveway, they chopped down this tree. It was a cleanser of air, buffer of noise from Lakeshore Road.
Mr. Choles,
beautiful tree.
Sorry, do we not have an urban forestry 1 condition, which means to protect the tree? That they're going to have a tree
I believe
protection zone?
I believe condition 1 says they have to file a form if they're going to injure or destroy it.
Is that number 2?
Which isn't all that reassuring. It says condition 1, submission of a completed application for a permit to injure or remove a city-owned tree as per City of Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 813, Trees, Article 2, Trees on City Streets.
But isn't the alternative here to protect this tree? It looks far enough in front from the drawing that it could be protected.
It could be protected, but again, no mention of that. And since there is no mention of that, I have to think that, you know, if they accidentally knock it down.
Mr. Chair, through the application process, Urban Forestry tries, through their process, their main goal is to protect the tree.
And I think the intention of the applicant here is to protect the tree as well. And what they said.
Well, I would like to get that down in writing as one of the conditions if this goes forward.
You know, I don't know if it's a question of they have to get it in writing, but if that's as Mr. Carpellino just said, they try to get wherever possible as a benefit for even the homeowner to have this beautiful big mature tree remain in front of
exactly.
The house. You see the house next to it looks like it's already been redeveloped. On that picture, the house on the left-hand side, and even on the right.
Yes.
So that house that looks like it's in front of the house, but it certainly wasn't affected. It's hard to see where it is, but if it's a city tree, it's probably far enough away that it can be protected. But I don't know if you're.
Well, I hope so, and I hope it will be.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, let's hear what happens. So thank you, Mr. Choles. Let's move on to, unless you'd like to sum up with anything else, let's move over to Christine. And in the meantime, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Choles on the issues of the trees? Okay. So let's hear from Christine Mercado.
Hello, Mr. Chair. So with regards to, I've just done a quick sort of reevaluation of the numbers with regards to this with this application. I've updated the numbers. So if we can go to page 3 on my letter, please. So 27th Street is actually a series of well-kept homes, and I went at it from a planning context. So I'm looking in the immediate context, and still, even with the reduction, the FSI is excessive. 0.64 is large, and that's just looking at the. If you're looking at the house next door, which is a 0.68, you have to look at how it's situated and the fact that it actually has a city easement on it. So it does place it differently and gives it a little bit more space around the actual home.
Sorry. You just said the house next door was built at 0.68, but you said something about
It was.
So
it was. There's a city easement. There's a city easement on it, so it looks like there's more property around the house.
Oh, but when you count it up, it's only counted on their property, so it's a higher number?
Right.
Okay. So isn't that?
Yeah, right.
So you would expect
no,
this
so
one
it's
to be less or more? It would be less because that
no.
one's...
I would expect it. I would expect it to be much less. But the impression is different. Is my point.
Okay.
So the impression of the size is different. I do agree with Mr. Yetter with regards to the overlook. So the overlook on 89 was actually to the front, the street, the front yard and the public street, whereas this overlook is to the backyard. And I also have to look at the precedents that are in the area. So 82 27th Street is located across the street, and it's one of the regular builds that's on a bit of a deeper lot, and it's 320 square meters squared. So I'm finding that this house, in comparison to a house that's on a lot that's twice the size, this house still seems abnormally large in comparison to another house that's actually on a deeper lot. So you do have to, that does speak to plantable space and replacing green space with gray and building over our green spaces. And I would also look at the data with regards to the street. So on the length of 27th Street, the prevailing FSI is below 0.35, and that's today. That's the existing context. And exceptions exist, but only 4 times, leading the average along the entire street to be 0.29, and the median is 0.23. So 0.68 FSI is large for this street.
Right. Are the houses on the even side of the street not larger lots than the houses on the odd numbers, including number 83? Those lots.
Well, I'm talking.
Bigger.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire length of 27th.
Okay.
So these houses are a little less deep than other lots,
yep.
But I'm talking about the whole street average. Excuse me. So that's the entire length of 27th Street. And if you look at recent refusals, it also includes 16 Atherton, which was a refusal of 0.42 FSI, and 15 and 16 Atherton have now pulled a building permit, and the building permit is 2.35. So it's an as of right building permit, and those builds are happening right now. So I guess my point being is that 0.6, the new FSI is better. I can't say that it's not better, but I do have to say that it is still excessive in comparison to the rest of the street.
Okay, thank you.
So in closing, in closing, I would respectfully request that this application refused, as it fails OP 4.1.5C, prevailing density and massing. And if the applicant were to look a little bit more into the character guidelines, specifically 3.2.3 and 3.2.1, they could actually incorporate a few ideas in the guidelines that would actually mitigate some of this excessive size that's being presented by this massing.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to the applicant agent, Mesa Kidder. If you can please give us a response or rebuttal or answers to those questions that have been raised by the neighbors.
Yes, well, thanks for the neighbors. We hope, we don't want to have the neighbors upset about the design. We are trying our best to, do the best to comply with the zoning bylaw and with the neighborhood. We want everyone to be happy. If maybe we can reduce the FSI to 60% if that works. If that
we have an application. Yeah, we've been listening to this application. Then that was not the time to first making further reductions. We have you reduced it from I think 0.68 to what's in 0.62, and that's what's before us.
Yeah. So one of the speakers mentioned address 99 in the street. This is a different application. I think for address 99 was a consent, and that's why you got like much smaller properties and like higher density, and that looks like more like blocks that will block the light and the look of the trees, and that the Long Branch Association is concerned about. Our application is different. We think that the house size is of a reasonable size of house. We have all the setbacks. We complied with the setbacks and the building lengths and the building depth and the building height. We comply with all these requirements. So that's all I can say for now.
Okay. Any questions, committee members, for the agent or for any of the neighbors, or are we ready for a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Don Taylor. I'm strongly influenced by the fact that this proposal doesn't require any yard adjustments, nor does it require a height adjustment. So in effect, it's being built in accordance with the key zoning requirements on the lot. With respect to the tree, I'm satisfied with the imposition of urban forestry condition 1 and the applicant's own desire to do whatever they can to protect the tree. Will address that issue. So I find the variances requested meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval subject to urban forestry condition number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Sorry? As modified, yes. Based on the yellow sheet showing the changes that were made, of course.
Yes, I'm sorry, I failed to say that, as modified.
It was implied. The seconder for that? We just lost Neil. We lost the visual on Neil, so if Neil is prepared to, you got to speak up. Or Sophia. Sophia, I can't, I lost the sound on Sophia. Are you putting up your hand?
I'm prepared to second it. Can you hear me verbally?
Yep, now we can hear you, yes.
I'm prepared to second it.
Okay.
And Neil's absent.
Thank you. All in favor? And what about Neil? Was he here for this application? I didn't notice. I think he was. He just... Okay. Well, it either carries 3-0 or 4-0, so we can, yeah. Well, for now, but I believe, yeah, I believe he just went out this second, just as we were in the middle of the motion. So, well, he can let us know later, and when we do the minutes, we can clarify if he feels he was present enough. I believe he was to, assuming he's in favor. Obviously, maybe he's opposed. Hopefully, he'll come back. Okay, so can we go on to the next application?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, before we go on to the next application, we're just gonna have to switch our YouTube stream quickly.
Okay.
A couple of minutes. So anyone on WebEx that is watching through YouTube, please be advised that we're shutting this one down and we're gonna start a new one right now.
Adam, are you